I messed with Linux first back when it was probably, when Ubuntu was probably like 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. And then I couldn't get a grasp on it at the time. I was still too just dug into Windows, and I was like, this shit sucks. But I just finally got so tired of Microsoft, and like with Windows 10 and Windows 8, they did the whole thing with the Metro screen. And I was like, fuck this nonsense. This is the most stupid shit I've ever seen, because it was all geared towards touch screens and shit, which was cool. But it's so just all over the place and just cluttered, and it looked like hell, and you could never find anything unless you actually typed in the search box what you're looking for. And I've been with the start menu so long. I mean, I've been using Windows since like Windows 2. So I was like, nah, fuck this. I
went to Mac like full time, probably like 12 years ago or something like that. But at the time I was still jerking around with like running Linux servers and like building my own.
Yeah.
And then eventually I just got tired of managing it, and plus work would just buy me MacBooks. So I probably have like 10 MacBooks laying around my house from various jobs where they sent them to me and they never asked for them back. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this now, but I just have this like pile of MacBook Pros.
Craigslist, man. Make some money.
I don't know if I can, because like I don't technically own them. I don't own the serial number, and a lot of them have a locked BIOS. So
yeah, that's true. I forgot they do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through and look though. I'm gonna see which ones I can wipe, just reinstall from scratch and then go sell them.
Yeah, right. Or just call the IT guy and be like, hey,
that's too much work. I'm not putting in the work to send you back your equipment. Like, if you want it,
yeah,
send me a box that all I have to do is drop it in and then like push a button on an app and they'll come pick it up. But if you're going to expect me to do the work and pay for the shipping, or like reach out to you,
yeah, fuck that.
Like, yeah, this is your $2,000 piece of equipment. You want it back, do some work for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, obviously they don't.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Craigslist, Facebook, make some money.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah, I just couldn't deal with it. I thought just Windows, and especially when I found out, especially in Windows 10, like that they were collecting just so much data. And then you look at what they're doing with it, right? They started basically from Windows 7 to Windows 10. They were doing like the free upgrade period. So you had X amount of months where you could just upgrade. They're basically giving it away.
Yeah.
And so I looked at that, and then I looked at all these options where, do you want to turn on your advertiser ID experience and have ads targeted directly to you and all that? And I was like, okay, that's why they're giving it away, because they don't really give a shit about the product. We are the product.
Oh yeah. Like data and all that crap it's nuts what they're collecting now. I'm talking to a guy at dinner the other day who is a data architect. So he like collects data from like these Fortune 500 companies. Like he's working with like a major healthcare company right now, like one of the biggest in the country. So the amount of data they generate, and they're not even like surreptitiously collecting data, because they're a healthcare company. They have like rules.
Oh yeah.
But like imagine Google or Amazon, where they're collecting billions of data points every second on us. And yeah, I don't know where Microsoft is at with like data privacy and crud, but like Google sucks with it. I'm about to get off of Google phones and go to Apple phones, which I hate iPhones.
Yeah.
I hate them, but I'm going to go to them because privacy.
I'm in the same boat. I've always been the one that's all like, oh, look at you with your fucking Apple. Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, Yeah. But then I'm like, oh, maybe they're smarter than I am.
I mean, they do take really, really amazing photos. I've always loved the Mac experience, right? Because Mac has always done the thing where you just upgrade for free until your hardware can't handle it, right?
Oh yeah.
So like I don't have to. I'm on the latest version of OS X on my 10-year-old MacBook, and like I don't have to pay for it ever. But what were we talking about? Privacy? I don't know. I waffle with privacy between like I don't want them to know what I'm doing, and like don't be listening in, and just being like, I submit to our future robot overlords. Like,
right.
Algorithm my life and give me the things I want before I know I want them, and I'll be fat, lazy, and happy. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is even Apple, I mean, they collect data too. I just feel like they don't do it in the same way, if that makes sense. Like Google is just taking anything and everything, and they don't give a fuck. And and it's funny because you can, when you get a new phone or whatever, and you look at it and it's like, do you want to subscribe to this? And it's basically, they give you the option, air quotes, to opt out. But I mean, really, you're not. You can say, yeah, I don't want to do that, but they're going to do it anyway. They're still collecting it. They just might not sell it to certain people.
And they're absolutely listening to us too. So I was having a conversation a couple years ago with a good friend who, we were out celebrating my birthday and big giant party. He ended up meeting not a young lady, shall we say, cougar, and beautiful, good looking woman, mid 50s. He's not even 40 at the time. And goes home with her. They do their thing, whatever. So he calls me the next day, like freaking out, like on a phone conversation. He's like, I need to go get an STD check and this and that and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, bro, like chill out. Like, yes, go do that. That's a perfectly healthy thing to do. But like, you don't have AIDS. Like like he literally was convinced he had AIDS. Like, and he still to this day talks about mental AIDS.
Just from one night stand with the cougar?
Yes, with like a cougar who was in like a 25-year marriage, had like 3 kids, and like had been out of it for like maybe a year. I'm like, dude, this isn't like your prime, like this isn't the statistical probability where like you're going to get that, right? Like she's not running a risky lifestyle. She was in a 25-year monogamous relationship.
Yeah.
Calm down, bro.
Yeah, more than likely she's the one who should be worried about AIDS.
Not with him. But so no crap, like 5 minutes later, I'm on Facebook and I'm getting ads for STD tests near you. Oh, and this was in a verbal phone call that I was talking to him. And I'm like,
so actual, like on the phone talking, not just texting.
Talking to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not texting, not in an app, nowhere. And somehow they're now showing like the first 3 ads I get on Facebook are for STD testing near you. And I'm like,
well, it's because Google's probably plugged into the NSA databases that are listening to your phone calls.
Well, they're all listening. That's what I realized. And I'm like, they're all listening.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, is they're listening all the time, whether you're on the phone, whether you're texting, just having the phone in the room with you and it's on. Fuck, probably even if it's turned off. It's sitting there listening to everything you're talking about, collecting. I mean, that's why they've even admitted it, right? That's why when you're talking with your buddies about fuck anything, slippers that look like kitty cats, and then within an hour you're on Facebook and you start seeing ads for kitty cat slippers. You're like, wow, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, on the one hand, it annoys me.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I really, really don't mind when like I start getting ads for watches that are on sale or, Jordans that are on sale. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't know that now. Like, thanks.
Are you a watch guy? You have a watch fetish?
I like watches. I don't know. I just like collect stuff in general. Yeah. Probably.
I'm a watch guy.
A little more. Yeah.
I never used to be. It's a new thing, but I don't know. I just like them. My wife, that's pretty much my Christmas present every year. She tries to get me a couple. Okay. For her, it's more of a trying to see if she can nail my taste. She does pretty damn good every year. So. Yeah. Whatever. I'm not going to complain. I
mean, I would say the term watch guy to me makes me think of people who are like super into collecting like collector's watches or like certain Rolexes or tags or whatever, and like I like those things. I don't own any of them because I don't know, if I got $5,000 I'd rather go somewhere than don't actually. You're not even getting it for $5,000 on that, because like my dream watch is a Rolex Submariner, and you can't go to a retail store and buy one, because when they get them in, I've like learned all about this. When they get a Rolex in at the Rolex store, where it's going to sell for the manufacturer, the MSRP of like $6,000, it doesn't go to a customer off the street that walks in. They're calling up their customer of like 20 years who's bought 4 or 5 watches from them.
Yeah, they're looking for a guaranteed sale.
Yeah, and so like you can't, unless you already are a previous Rolex owner and you have a relationship with a Rolex retailer. You can't buy like the Rolex Submariner, which is like their most popular model. You can't buy that like at market price. So you can only buy it on the secondhand market, and they jump to 10, 11, 12 grand on the secondhand market. And it's ridiculous. Like, I'm not paying that much for a watch. I don't care if it's going to be the last watch I ever own. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain level of like, I mean, you gotta be a certain level of life to where dropping 10 grand on a watch doesn't affect you at all. And like, would I love to be there one day? Sure.
Well, yeah, everybody
but,
would.
Like,
that's the thing though, is even if I had 10 grand to drop on a watch, I wouldn't do it. I could never bring myself to spend that kind of money on that. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to have triple digit millions probably before I got to the point where I was like, whatever, 10 grand, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I really want...
Because like at triple digit millions, if you just stick that in a money market account at like a bunch of money market accounts at like 2%.
Oh yeah. You're doing fine.
I mean, at 100 million at 2% a year, you're just living off $2 million a year. Poor you, you know? That's how the rich get and stay rich. And that's why politicians suck. I
mean, if you got the money to do it, you know how to do it.
Oh yeah. I'm not hating on them. I'm just...
I want it's a Citizen Eco Drive. And they're like $300-400 or something. And even just to me, like that's an expensive watch.
Oh yeah.
Like that would be one that I would probably wear forever.
So I have a Citizen Eco Drive, and strangely, I only had it for like 2 years. It was a birthday present, and the battery's dead. Like I went to put it on the other day, and the battery was dead. And I was like, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah. Because it recharges itself, doesn't
it? Granted, it's been in my watch box for a while. But, yeah, that was kind of annoying. My most expensive watch is my freaking Garmin.
Oh, yeah.
I bought the, like, nicest Garmin watch I could, like, a year or two ago. So it's like the Phoenix 6X Pro Solar quadruple face diamond plated, whatever, I don't know. Yeah, that thing was like 12 grand. Not
Jesus.
12 grand, 1,200.
I was going to say 12 grand?
Yeah, $1,200. And I was
like, you were just talking about a $6,000 Rolex.
Yeah, I know. But this watch does like everything I need in life. Like, right, because it's a smartwatch, but it's also like an adventure watch. So it's got built-in GPS and maps. And like I can send out a beacon or something, I don't know. And you know, I ran an Ironman in October, and it like helped with all that training, and like, so it's an amazing watch.
Yeah, see, that shit is all cool. The only thing with me about smartwatches is I'm already trying to disconnect like as much as possible, which sucks because I was off Facebook for a year, and now I've started it back up again just because of the show. But
yeah,
like I don't have the app on my phone. I won't install it. I've already told my wife like I'm not doing it. But the shitty thing is that you can still get to it through a browser. So I was just talking with the guys at coffee today about how I'm trying so hard to stay off of it and not play around. So far I'm doing okay, but yeah, I don't want a smartwatch because my phone has been on vibrate for the last 2 years. Yeah. Because I got so tired of all the dings and bing, you know, somebody's texting you and Facebook and all this other crap. I said, fuck this. I put it on. So it's on vibrate, which pisses my wife off because half the time I miss her calls and her texts. I don't get back to her for like 2 hours. And then I come home and she's like, did you get eggs? I'm like, no. She's like, I fucking told you. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I don't even I really only wear like it's the most expensive watch I have. And I really only wear it when I go to the gym.
Yeah.
Or like run or whatever, or if I'm like out adventuring, like if I'm doing some sort of outdoor activity.
Yeah.
And like
that's where it would be awesome to have it.
It's freaking
out
amazing.
Camping, hiking, all that stuff. Like, I mean, that I can see for it.
The like, I was worried when I got it, right? Like I'm used to reading a map, and you know, like this, I came up in the Army. I learned how to like read a map and dead reckoning and all that, and I'm like, how am I going to do that on a watch face? But it's actually pretty decent size, so I've been pretty happy with it. You know, it took me up Mount Rainier in August and a couple other ones since I bought it, but yeah, it's been a pretty cool watch.
I forget you're the crazy adventure guy that does all this shit.
I am an idiot who is currently nursing a sore back because I'm an idiot. So yeah, you know,
You're braver than I, man. One day maybe I'll get there. I don't know about Everest, or Rainier.
Rainier is like such a beautiful, beautiful place. Even if you don't go climb the mountain, doing a hike, you can hike up to Camp Muir at 10,000 feet where the glaciers start. It's like a good mile of it's hiking up a snowfield. So it kind of gives you that mountain climbing experience. But even just like walking around the
Do you have to snowshoe up there?
No, because it's like hard packed snow.
Oh, okay.
There's probably been 100 people that have gone up it before you that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's highly trafficked. But even just like walking around the paved trails at Rainier National Park is just amazing.
I've heard it's badass. I have several friends that have been over there.
Yeah, I'm a national park guy, and like honestly, every time I go to one, pretty much I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I think the only one I remember going to where I was like, oh, this one sucks. I don't really get it. But then again, I only saw it for a day, was Smoky Mountain National Park. Like I didn't see anything cool there, but yeah, Mount Rainier is pretty awesome. But Brandon and I he's my bad decision best friend. Because anytime I have a crazy idea, or he has a crazy idea, we're both like, that's a horrible idea. What time?
Yeah.
And we go do it. And we're driving into Mount Rainier at the end of August to climb. I'm in the middle of like training for this Ironman. He just did an Ironman. He's the dick that made me do my Ironman. Because, I couldn't let him do it on his own.
Is that the one in Coeur d'Alene?
Yeah, he did the one in Coeur d'Alene. I did the one in Arizona because Arizona's flat. And supposed to be moderately temperate in October. It's supposed to be like high 70s, mid 80s.
Yeah, not 120 like in the summertime.
So it was flat. It was like 85 the day of. The problem was it had one of those Arizona torrential downpours for 8 hours before. So humidity was at like 90 to 100%.
Yeah.
In the middle of an Ironman and 85-degree Phoenix sun. Like, I wanted to die. If it hadn't rained, it would have been great. But, yeah.
See, I've never, ever dealt with that, not even once in my lifetime until 2018. I went to visit my sister down in Austin, Texas. And I had heard about the torrential, just out of nowhere downpours before, but I'd never seen one. So I'm in this rental car going down the freeway headed towards town because she was at work and I wanted to go check shit out. And then for no reason at all, just starts dumping rain so fucking hard you couldn't see a foot in front of the car. And I've got all these cars around me and I can't see anybody and I'm just trying not to hit anyone. Thankfully I had the extra insurance, but yeah, I ended up having to pull into a parking lot of some store and just sit and wait for 15 minutes. And then of course it just stops and the sun comes back out and it's like normal. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. And in Texas, you have the added benefit or the added fun of, ooh, look at all this crazy rain. That might mean a tornado.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I texted my sister. I'm like, oh my God, you'll never believe what happened. And then I thought, what kind of a dick am I? She lives here.
Right. It's like somebody coming to Idaho and being like, oh my gosh, how do you guys deal with all this snow?
Yeah.
Well, we just do.
You grin and bear it.
Yeah.
Care if I get a photo?
No. Sample away.
Bam.
Is that recording too?
No.
Oh. No. I saw you had the video with JJ. I watched half of it. Well, I put it on YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube? Yeah, it's not video yet. It's just the podcast cover with the audio. I'm not going video yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still toying with the idea of whether or not I'm even going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they say it's a huge booster and only 17% of podcasts do video according to statistics.
Yeah.
But I mean, if only 17% do it, then that means almost nobody else is. So I don't feel like I'm missing out that much.
I think
the equipment that it takes to do it, and I mean, I could do it on a budget, but still, if I'm going to do it, I don't want to do it too half-assed. I want it to be decent, and I just don't know that I want to commit to the expense for it right now.
I'm pretty sure there's ways to just dongle your phone into a stream.
Yeah, I tried that.
Oh, it didn't work very well.
Yeah, there's an app that I have on there, and then you can get it on Linux so that you can use your phone as a webcam.
Yeah.
And like it actually works pretty decent, except for I just couldn't get the two to keep talking to each other. I mean, if I fiddled with it, it'd probably work, but I can't use multiples. So if I eventually want to go to a multicam setup, that won't work. It would work probably for a single cam, but
yeah,
like I said, I don't want to half-ass it. I'd like to do a multicam. So I'm just toying with it, whether I want to or not. Maybe someday, if this actually goes somewhere, I'll get a producer, somebody that can actually handle all this crap. And
a camera that will shoot in 4K is like so flippin' like cheap now.
Yeah, they're not that much.
I mean, you can probably get a small little USB one for under, I gotta imagine under $100 now. Like,
from what I've seen, about 120,
ridiculous.
$130 for decent ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a lot, but to be able to get it into the machine, because I don't want to do USB because you get too much lag. So I would end up having to do, HD capture card is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the Camlink Pro from Elgato, but that's like $250.
I think I have an Elgato.
Yeah. I said, I mean, I could do it fairly decent on a budget. At the moment, what I'm really trying to do is get better at having conversations with people and keeping them flowing and avoiding shit like, and like, and, shit. God, it fucking bugs me. When I'm doing editing, man, and I'm listening, it just drives me nuts listening to myself talk.
I have been making a concerted effort in my life to stop using the word like so much.
Yes.
Because I read things and I'm like, like as a pause filler word.
Yeah.
And every time I catch myself doing it, I'm like, idiot.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten out of, I had to do a conscious effort with that, in my mid 30s there, as part of my midlife crisis or whatever I was going through. My no more Mr. Nice Guy crisis. And, I'm doing it right now. I'm going, but I started to make concerted effort not to go, and get myself out of that.
Yeah.
But I can't ditch my California surfer / valley girl-ness, apparently, because I'm like, dude, dude all the time.
Where are you from originally?
Southern California.
Southern?
Yeah.
So, LA area?
Yep, grew up just north of LA in the beautiful Santa Clarita Valley.
Nice.
It when I grew up there, it was like the horse country for LA.
Yeah.
In fact, still just like on the outskirts of the actual city limits is where a lot of like super exclusive ranches for LA County are, and like horse people that Agua Dulce and Acton and places like that. And pretty much anytime you see a movie or TV show these days that's filmed in like a desert environment or like a Western environment, it's always out in Santa Clarita Valley. So it was horse country growing up, like tiny little suburbs kind of spread around, a lot of farmland.
Yep.
Not too dissimilar from here, where we're kind of at now. And then I left for the Army in February of 2001. Came back for 2 years in 2011 after living in the South. And it's now the third largest city in LA County, and it's just packed in cookie cutter, stucco Southern California style homes where you're 5 feet away from your neighbor on each side and your backyard is 10 feet deep.
Yeah.
And everything costs way too much. I was working at a startup in West LA, and if you've ever been to LA, you know that LA is a car city and everything's way spread the fuck out. And depending on what time of day you're trying to get anywhere, your commute can vary by hours.
Yeah.
So when you ask people for directions in LA, when you ask people how long directions are going to take, there's always two questions. It's like, well, when are you going? And which freeways do you want to avoid?
All of them.
Yeah. But you can't, because to get anywhere, you got to get on there.
Yeah.
So
the interchanges down there alone are just fucking insane.
Yeah.
I have an aunt and uncle that live in Castaic.
Yeah, so that's Castaic is Santa Cruz Valley.
Yeah, right below whatever lake, the Castaic Lake.
Yeah, Castaic Lake. I grew up fishing in that. I don't know why my dad would make us eat the rainbow trout out of Castaic Lake, but
it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, kind of gross.
Yeah, I high school era, like when I could travel by myself and fly and stuff, I spent a couple summers down there with them, just hanging out. My uncle took us to the dunes one time because he had an extra 4-wheeler that year because he had just bought another one. So he took us out there and we spent like a whole weekend just riding 4-wheelers and getting crazy. It was a lot of fun.
Up in like Pismo Beach dunes?
Yep. Yeah. Or no, it was California City, kind of out in the desert area there.
Out in the desert part. Okay, I thought you were talking about the beach dunes.
Yeah, no. California City, it's like two of his neighbors, they're big like ATV guys and shit too, and so everybody had trailers and we all just kind of caravanned out there and just spent the weekend just tootling around and going on the trails and stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I went last August. Bad Decision Brandon and Yoga Jared, best friend, and I went out to
Jared
Prevost.
Oh, okay.
Yoga instructor. And so the three of us took side by side in a 4-wheeler out to Florence, Oregon. And so they've got all the dunes out there, but it's like beach dunes.
Yeah.
And so you're right on the coast and you can drive your 4-wheelers and your side by sides in the surf and like
kind of like Oregon.
Super fun. Yeah. So that's Florence, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
That's where we went. And that was a blast. We had a lot of fun doing that.
That's probably the only thing I love about Oregon is the fact that nobody can own the beach. So you can just drive up and down it. We did that back in, I want to say it was like 2008 or something. We did a family trip over there.
Yeah.
And the whole coastline, like it's state law, it can't be privately owned.
Huh.
So that's why it's all open and you can just drive up and down the entire coast all you want.
Yeah.
I think they might have like certain areas that are closed off for, like animal habitat or something like that. Cause I think the seals and stuff come up there, but yeah, other than that, you can just do whatever the hell you want out there. You can sit out there, have campfires, drive up and down it.
Yep. It's a really cool spot. I want to go back there. Take some fifth wheels and travel trailers, whatever, and a bunch of ATVs and people and go rip around for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, that'd be fun as shit.
Be a blast.
So you went into the Army in 2001?
Yeah, so there I was in Santa Cruz Valley, growing up in the shadow of Six Flags, Magic Mountain, and riding thrill rides my whole life, and going to the beach to surf, and very, very poorly surf, and hiking, and doing all sorts of probably risky, adventurous shit that I realize says a lot about me as a human now. Like the time I gathered up all of the neighborhood kids and was like, hey guys, it's Tuesday in summer. I've got an idea. Let's make a fertilizer bomb. As an 8-year-old. And everybody else in the neighborhood was like, you know what, Adam? We're in. I was like, yes.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Son of a bitch. I'm in. That is my favorite television show in the world, by the way. Huge Rick and Morty fan.
That's pretty damn good.
I have a little The World According to Rick book.
Oh, really?
That I just like, kind of along with my other daily readings, right? Like where I'm read from, some Stoic material or the Bhagavad Gita, all these different little things that I read in the mornings or whatever. Every now and then I throw The World According to Rick in there because he's just got the most ridiculous, intelligent things to say, though,
Hell yeah.
Like my favorite Rick quote is when he's talking about love. And he's like, love is just a chemical reaction in your brain that forces two people to stay together long enough to raise children, and then eventually the chemical disappears and you realize there's nothing really left once the child leaves. And I don't know, it's like this ridiculous thing. I'm like, that's kind of hilarious and pretty true. Try to get the neighborhood kids to build a bomb. What they don't tell you when you're 8, and I only learned because of the internet, and Wikipedia is that they left out key details in MacGyver when he would do things.
Oh, yeah.
So the episode I had watched the night before, where he made little fertilizer grenades to throw at the drug cartel that was chasing him.
I used to fucking love that show.
Yeah, they left out key parts of the ingredients needed to make a fertilizer bomb properly. So WD-40 and fertilizer do not ignite. You need other stuff. I now know what those other things are, thanks to the internet as well.
Anarchist Cookbook.
But I'm going to keep that to myself. So yeah, I grew up doing ridiculous things like that. Like one time, my pastor's kids climbed a telephone pole at their house and built basically like a platform on this telephone pole. You know,
like a treehouse platform on a telephone pole.
Yeah, but it's only like big enough to stand on for like one person, like almost like a hunting tree stand.
Huh.
Which I wouldn't have even known what that was growing up in Southern California. I only know that now. Thank you, living in the South and Idaho. And, you know, here's 12, 13-year-old us basically jumping off of this thing in a climbing harness tied to a rope just for the fuck of it.
Trying to do like your own bungee jump?
Basically. Because climbing ropes are like kind of dynamic. And we were like, this is a great idea. Nothing could possibly go wrong here. So I went to a semester of college and was like, this is stupid. This is high school 2.0. Hanging out with the same people, taking the same type of classes, going to the same places, doing the same things. And I remember driving down into the valley to San Fernando Valley, the porn capital of the world.
God bless it.
And I was actually going to pick up tuxedos from the warehouse for the tuxedo shop I worked at. And funnily enough, next door to the...
For porn?
Was a porn studio because they were in Van Nuys, which is...
Oh, yeah.
The porn capital.
Yeah, it's porn central.
So I'm driving down the freeway.
Can't imagine what that place smells like.
I'm driving down the freeway to head in there, and I just go like, I hate this. I need to get out of here. The next day, that was January 30th. The next day, January 31st, walked into the recruiter's office, and I remember Corporal Ramirez. It's like 24. It's his first recruiting assignment. I'm probably the second or third person he's ever talked to. I was actually his first person to sign on the dotted line.
Oh, so he was like newbie?
He's newbie.
Yeah.
And this is in February 2001. We're not at war, right? Nobody has any clue what's going to happen 8 months from now. He shakes my hand. He says, I'm Corporal Ramirez. How can I help you? And I just look him dead in the eye. I want to jump out of planes and shoot people in the face. Little 18-year-old me. And just the look of sheer confusion and slight horror in his face was like, huh? And I was like, I want to be an airborne ranger. So 3 weeks later, February 21st, I'm on a plane to Georgia for basic training because I knew what I wanted to do. I went through everything as quickly as I could. And like I told him day one, as soon as I said, I want to be an airborne ranger, he's like, okay, great. Let's like see what we can do. I was like, and I want to get out of here as quickly as possible. So in a span of 3 weeks, I made a decision to, and then left for the Army at the age of 18 and a couple months.
So yours was like, you know, the original tale as old as time, just a way out of wherever the hell you were.
I mean, I had ways out, you know, I didn't.
That's just, it's often the story that I hear is, you know, people that maybe grew up in a small town or something even. It's like, man, there's no fucking way out of here. And so they join to get out and see the world.
Yeah, I joined for the reason that I walked in there and told them.
To jump out of planes and shoot people in the face.
I wanted to jump out of planes and shoot people in the face.
Yeah, it's noble.
And that was the best place to do it.
Fuck yeah.
It's like I had done my research. I had been doing my research for years. I was a kid in school who was like hiding in the back just reading books instead of paying attention.
Yeah.
And like I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what the process was, and I didn't need to waste any time. Like, I could have hung around LA, I could have kept going to college, or would have gotten out of there, would have found other shit to do to entertain myself, but like, there's only one job in the world that pays you to jump out of planes and shoot people in the face. There's no civilian equivalent of that. Doesn't matter what you do. Only one place you can do that.
Yep.
In the Army, I mean, I guess you want to try to be a Navy SEAL, but that's
assuming you could make it through Hell Week.
Dude, I just read an article this morning about, and I've been kind of following the story about how fucked up they've made buds in the past few years, where buds used to traditionally have a like 50-ish dropout rate, right?
Yeah.
It would like range anywhere from like high 40s to mid 50s, which is fine, right? That's great, you know, that'll get you the SEALs you need. And then apparently in the past, like from like 2017 to 2020, that rate dropped into like the low 30s and high 20s. And what, they had numerous trainees die. They were having a ton of people get injured and sick. And it's like, well, yeah, no shit. Because now you have apparently this batch of instructors that has decided to be dickheads. And like, those were always the type of people I hated in the Army.
So you're talking about the people who pass went to 20%.
Yeah. The pass rate dropped into like the high 20s and low 30s. So, you know, your dropout rate's 70% and up.
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a lot.
You can't maintain the force with that much. And it's simply just because some dickhead instructor thinks like, you don't deserve this. And those are like the shittiest type of people to deal with in the military. Hated those type of people where they're just dicks to be dicks.
Like, you don't deserve this, so they
just make it hard. They just make it
extremely tougher on people just to be assholes.
Yeah, they're not tough but fair.
You're right.
They're just assholes.
Yeah.
They abuse their power.
Right.
In a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways, like dickhead cops. You know what I mean? Like, I think the vast majority of cops are decent human beings. I think there's a higher percentage of dickheads in cops than there are in the population at large, because when you give people power,
right,
it's really hard not to get corrupt with power.
Yeah. What was it? Is it a Harvard experiment or
Stanford experiment?
Stanford experiment. Yeah. So I read about that last year, the year before, and went digging around online and found there's actually like a couple different movies that were made of that.
Yeah, there's one on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, but just reading through that, and then Dan Cummins, he did a Time Suck episode on it, and dude, it's fucking brutal. But it shows you exactly when you give people power, it almost instantly goes to their head, and it's it's difficult to train anybody how to use and wield that power in a responsible manner. So I mean, I don't want to say that it's all just, you know, dickhead cops that all have some kind of fucking Rambo complex or something where they, you know, they all just want to beat the shit out of everybody. But I would say, yeah, there's a high amount of them that just, it goes to their head.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's human nature, I think. And
yeah, it's human nature, and I understand fully the stresses of their job.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
well, yeah, that's a consideration too.
Yeah, you know,
it's a very thankless job for the most part, especially these days.
Yeah. And like, as a 19-year-old, I'm invaded a foreign country and had to make split-second decisions on whether somebody was a threat or not a threat.
Right.
Based on reading the situation, reading them. So like, I get it. I get their job fucking sucks, you know, every time they pull somebody over, it has to be, this person could try to shoot me.
Right.
But man, like, I don't know. I think it's very similar to politics, right? Like, I'm kind of anti-power in general, right? Like, because, you know, the types of people that are attracted to politics are not the types of people we should have in politics.
Yeah. I was talking about this with somebody just the other day. Like, the best person for the job of president is the person who doesn't want it. Yeah. The one who doesn't want to be in politics.
And so JFK's Secretary of State, I don't remember his name, but he gave a speech one time that basically what it boiled down to was civil service. And he talked about how if we leave politics to the politicians, then we're going to get what we deserve. We need people who are normal, honorable, regular people,
right,
that truly want to do the best for the country and for their fellow man, to be involved in politics. Because if those people don't get involved, then all we're left with is the piece of the trash that we have now, where
they're career fucking politicians who love nothing more than to be in office and have power and tell everybody else what to do.
Yeah, and I don't care.
And they think they know best.
I don't care if they're red or blue. Like, the vast majority of them are concerned only with staying in power.
Right.
Or how they can accumulate money through that power, or how they can, after they lose that power, move into money. And I know this.
Yeah, setting themselves up for the future to be able to make a shit ton of money afterwards.
Yeah. And like, fun fact, I have held elected office in the great state of California.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So went into the Army, did Army shit, went to combat, came home, had family, stayed in the South for like a decade between Savannah, Georgia, Fort Benning, Georgia, and then Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And eventually came back to California for 2 years in 2011. Was working at like a startup in West LA. We're like circling back now. And like, hated the traffic there. It's like 20 miles away, but it would take me 2 hours each way. Like, just absolutely hated that, which got me into remote working eventually. So thank God, and allowed me to move up to Idaho to escape that crap. But was heavily involved in politics at that time. So during the 2012 election cycle, and was working with a family friend on his campaign for a state assembly seat, and was also running for a local board seat myself, and just all sorts of fun shenanigans with that one, and a congressman trying to a congressman who had been the congressman for the district for 20 plus years, like former city mayor, super involved in politics, somehow made himself very rich doing that, primarily because he was doing things like paying his wife a full-time 6-figure salary out of his campaign.
There's all kinds of shady shit like that.
Directly enriching himself. So now he's retiring. From Congress, and he was like chair of the House Armed Services Committee. So like, this guy had power. He decides like he wants his wife to then be the California State Assembly person for the district, because California's term limited. So the current state assemblyman had to step aside. She has
is this like senators or
like the state legislature?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And like, they make like $100,000 a year in California. So he wanted his wife to have that position so she could get the money, and then he could run her campaign board and still solicit defense money and all this crap.
Which $100,000 a year in California barely pays for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, but then when you're also paying yourself out of campaign funds, and your campaign funds pay for your cars, and your campaign funds pay for all your groceries and your gas and blah blah blah. You're like, it's ridiculous, and all this is public record too. That's what's really ridiculous, is that people don't care enough to even notice.
It's easy to follow the money, just nobody does it.
Yeah. So he wants to like crown her, and like, she has no political experience. She like doesn't do anything for the community. She just collects a paycheck and gets her hair done and gets spray tanned. And I had a family friend who like had known for my whole life, from like church and stuff. That was his former chief of staff that was also running for the seat. So this primary between these two was like some dirty ass politics. And I fully participated and helped bring national media attention to this corrupt, shady shit.
Trying to expose it.
Oh yeah. So I ended up having like articles written in national media about it and talking about a state assembly race, in national media. But like the things that I saw, like running a campaign like that and doing that, and then having to glad hand and do things to get votes for myself, and like, man, I was like, this is bullshit. Because here's like a lot of these people are that are involved are people that I knew growing up as, like church leaders and stuff like that. And I'm like, looking around, I'm like, how can you be how can you be that person on a Sunday morning and then like, this is how shady you're behaving? And it was like across the board.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't anybody who wasn't willing to like get involved in some fuckery if it meant advancing themselves or their cause. And it's just made me really, really disillusioned with the whole thing. Like, I don't think you really get good people like in positions of power like that.
Yeah. Well, there's several studies now that show, what is it like, I can't remember the percentage now, so I'm talking out of my ass, but I mean, so many like corporate level executives and shit like that, company presidents, CEOs are, I mean, clinically, what is it? Not psychotic, but, Sociopathic. Yeah. So how can any of us sit here and think that doesn't translate into our politicians?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this is where one of my favorite authors is Robert Greene. Robert Greene has written 48 Laws of Power.
Oh yeah.
I'm currently reading his book, 33
I started that at some point. I need to finish it.
It is such a hard read.
That's what I've heard. It's kind of
highly recommend the audiobook. Audiobook is a lot easier to get through.
Is it done by Morgan Freeman?
Well, I mean, for one, it's like a lot of the 48 Laws of Power is him using historical stories to illustrate the thing. It's a lot easier to listen to those stories and kind of follow along and get the big picture than it is to read that.
Yeah.
Then his books are full of like their academic theses, like with the footnotes and all these things that he has.
Like great information, just kind of a droll read.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's difficult to like consume it all at a rate where you're going to retain it.
Yeah.
So like right now I'm reading 33 Strategies of War that he wrote, and it's very similar, like super in depth, all these things. So I try to get through a couple pages a week because it just like sucks my brain energy to read the page. But he talks about in that, like, well, wouldn't it be great if, like, why do we need to learn these strategies for war? Why should we do that? We should all just get along. We should live in a society where everybody treats each other nice and everybody, does what's best for the whole. And he agrees, like, yeah, that would be great. Like, obviously, that would be wonderful if we could live in a society like that.
Oh, yeah.
But the reality is we don't, and we never will, because human nature.
Right.
There's going to be people that always want to game the system for their own benefit.
Yeah.
And so
I've talked about this with JJ. It's greed.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was Jameson. I don't know, one or the other.
Yeah.
But greed. I mean, it's part of human nature, greed. And I feel that a lot of it stems from the human need for survival. It's just, it's in us. It's instinctive.
It's evolutionary, right? Like
right.
We want to make sure that we are going to survive. And so what does that look like? Fighting over resources.
Yeah.
That's what every fight ever is about.
Yeah.
Some sort of resource.
Exactly. And we have that joke, he who dies with the most toys wins.
Yeah.
But I mean, that translates into, if you have the most shit, then you're the best.
Yeah.
Basically. And so, I mean, everybody, that's what you gravitate towards.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the most of everything, even if you don't fucking need it. And you're not going to get rid of that. It's just part of who we are, unfortunately.
It's interesting because I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita right now.
What was that other one by Robert Greene? 33 Laws of War?
33 Strategies of War.
Oh, I'm writing these down because I want to make sure I
right there.
Check them out. Oh, okay.
So I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita right now, and it's like the
what?
Yeah, I know, right?
Something about a burrito.
The Bhagavad Gita. Gita.
Okay.
It's the Hindu spiritual text.
Oh, okay.
So one of my daily readers. and it's been talking about this, like I basically read like a page a day. And so it's been talking about sacrifice, right? And like not being attached to worldly things. I'm trying to find one of these quotes that I had circled about that.
So what's your routine? Like, do you just chill like in the morning with a cup of coffee before you start everything and read a page of that, like 2 pages of this? That's where I struggle, is trying to make, a habit of doing shit like this.
Yeah. I would say I'll call myself a daily reader. I am not 100% with it. I'm happy if I get 3+ days a week of reading through my stuff in a week, right? Like I'm happy with that. I would love to go to the gym and exercise every day. It doesn't happen every day. Right. So if I'm getting at least my 3 main days where I'm lifting in, I have to be happy that week, right?
Yeah, I need to start lifting again.
Yeah. So my routine when I do read is, my ideal routine is to get up, take a cold shower, pop all my supplements real quick, my vitamin D and my fish oil and stuff like that. I haven't actually got into this part of it yet, but I want to, because I set up my little meditation corners, 5 minutes of meditation to just,
that's a good idea,
kind of center myself, and then some sort of 5 minutes of, not even 5 minutes, but like some sort of stretching or push-ups or something to get my blood flowing. And then, like I've got a whole setup with it. I try to just do this all in my room so I don't have to like walk to multiple places.
Right.
Like to just have like one central place. Do everything. Yeah. Yep. So I even have a tea kettle, like, an electric kettle, and then like a drawer where I've got like tea and coffee, and could like start that, if I want to.
I was talking with Luke about meditating, and we both came to the conclusion of meditating in the shower. And I think that's what he does. Do like couple a cold shower with meditation.
Yeah. I could, I wouldn't, I don't know.
Kill a few birds with one stone.
Sometimes I'll like, I enjoy meditating in like the hot tub at the gym.
Yeah. Or the sauna.
Yeah.
Sauna would be a good place.
I don't really enjoy meditating in the sauna. I do it frequently. Yeah. But that's kind of the point. It's like to have to meditate through.
Yeah. Try and push out. Discomfort, or if somebody else walks in while you're trying to be quiet and still.
Yeah. Like especially I'll jump in the hot tub or the steam room first and get all wet and then go sit in the sauna.
Yeah.
You're just like dumping sweat because you're already all humid. That's fun. So I try to, once I do those things, then sit, and I have a couple books that I go through, like just try to do 1 page out of each book.
Did you have something interesting in there that you wanted to bring up?
I can't find it. I'll keep looking. But
okay.
So yeah, I've got like 5 different books right now, I think, that I just try to read like 1 page a day from. The one I've been doing it the longest with is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Yeah. Which,
another one that's on my list.
Yeah, I highly recommend to just pick up a copy of it.
Dude, he was such an influential dude, and he was so fucking ahead of his time.
Yeah. And like Stoicism is just such a wonderful, well, aspects of Stoicism are like a wonderful way to live life, right? Like Stoicism itself kind of cuts off the emotion that's tied to a lot of things, and I don't love the concept of that. I think emotion makes us artists, right? Like can't have art without emotion. Can't have love without emotion. You can't have fun without emotion. So I think Stoicism falls a little short there, but generally in the forms of like non-reactiveness, and just accepting life and learning to stay calm through things. It's amazing.
To not let shit bother you, and just be a rock. God, it wipes away so much stress if you can just stay like present, but not let shit get to you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a great book called The Untethered Soul by, I think his name's Michael Kennedy. That, strangely enough, Bad Decision, best friend Brandon recommended to me. And like, you wouldn't know it looking at Brandon, because he's just your stereotypical square-jawed, handsome, but dumb-looking.
He doesn't really hit you at first glance like a reader.
Yeah, no, right? Like
I've
and he's very quiet and
right. He's a smart dude though.
No, yeah, he's smart as fuck. But
yeah, I love Brandon.
Like a lot of times, it's funny because he gives off the persona of like, yeah, I'm just pretty. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've watched.
You're a pretty bad decision.
He's gonna like kill me if he ever hears this, or God forbid his girlfriend. Well, I mean, they weren't dating at the time, so it doesn't matter. But was at Capone's on the green. There's like a little par 3 golf course.
Yeah, I go there all the time every summer.
Whatever it's called, I don't even. Ponderosa.
Yeah, Ponderosa.
This was 2 summers ago. Only time I've golfed in like, I think I've golfed one. I played a couple par 3 courses like in high school before I left for the Army, but I think I golfed an 18-hole course once in North Carolina.
Damn.
And so I don't golf. But we decided, me, Brandon, and this other guy decided to go golfing one summer evening, and mainly we wanted to like drink beer while we walked. So
yeah, which you could have done downtown, but golfing, it's funner to hold a golf club.
Yeah, golfing gave us a physical activity to do, and then drink beer. And I don't even really like beer. I like hanging out with like my homies. So
yeah,
because like we have great, interesting conversation that I don't think a lot of guys have. You know, where Big Dumb Brandon is talking to me about like emotional health and like learning how to, you know, remove yourself from your feelings and like let the feelings flow through you, and then like, you know, not be a blockage. And that's what this book is about. It's
stuff that, I mean, guys these days just don't really talk about a whole lot because it's seen as like, you know, pussy shit or something. And in fact, it's extremely important.
Yeah. Like nobody, like men especially, have this aversion to talking about mental health and to talking about, and like being real.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking love winners, but I love people that can admit not being like a winner. And like, because as much fun as it is to watch Tom Brady win all the time, it's kind of fun to watch Tom Brady take an L and then watch him bounce back from it.
Yeah.
Because you can't be a winner all the time. You know?
Well, if you're not losing, how the hell do you measure your success anyway?
Yeah. You know, and I wrote this whole thing the other day about like writing is one of the ways I process things in my life, and I enjoy it. Right, like it's my art form, or one of the things I like get creative and artistic with. And I wrote this thing about failure the other day, and I'm gonna pull it up here and just read it. It'll go on my Instagram at some point, but failure. I love failure. That's right. I love failing. It sounds like a strange thing to say, but for someone who is especially for someone who is a high achiever, but I love failure. Why though? When I was leaving for the Army 20 years ago, my dad shared a passage from Teddy Roosevelt with me. You've probably heard of it, The Man in the Arena. The final sentence of that really struck me at the time. Who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. As an 18-year-old leaving home to chase big dreams and endless adventure, the entire passage was a source of inspiration. The times when I was cold, tired, bloody, injured, doubting my abilities, or just feeling sad, lonely, or sorry for myself, I would recite the passage. But it wasn't until I started facing some of the real challenges of life that I began to see the genius of the final stanza. I've failed a lot. Let me reiterate that. I've failed a lot in life, love, and everything in between. I've had victories as well, but when I look back at my life, I see a string of failures. It's one of the things that keeps me pushing ahead, the thought that I know I can do better. Many would look at my life and think I've been successful, but it's just not how I see it. I am a failure. But I'm okay with that. I've learned to love it, to embrace it, to become it. Because being a failure teaches me where my limits are. It shows me consistently where I'm at and what I need to improve on. It gives me real-time feedback about my progress. During my time in the Army, there was a saying, you never rise to the occasion, you default to your highest level of training. How do you achieve higher levels of training and readiness, though? And not just for combat operations, but for life in general. You attempt something, you fail. You review the results of your attempt, make adjustments, then attempt it again. Repeat that loop over and over again until you've failed in all the ways possible, and voila, you're now trained to a high level of readiness for the task. Life is no different. Try, fail, tweak, repeat. It's that simple, and it's why I've learned to love failure.
Nice.
And I think like people don't want to talk about their failures. You know, people don't want to talk about their fuck ups. People don't want to talk about how they're feeling, what's really going on in their life. And something the Army taught me was there is nothing like when we do an after action review of an operation, there is no subject that we will not talk about or address. Like we don't bury shit under the rug.
Right.
When we're trying to be successful at something, because that's how people get killed.
Right. You can't measure every element of either success or how to be successful the next time without looking at every aspect of how you failed. Because if you leave out that one thing, that could be the one straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
That fucked up the entire mission for everybody.
Yeah.
So you have to address it.
Yeah. And so you don't ignore problems. You don't try to just deal with them on your own, right? Like you bring it up to the team.
Yep.
And then the team works together to address it. So I think a lot of people in life, they've got two problems there. One, they don't have a team.
Yeah.
They don't have people in their life that they can go to talk about things.
Right.
And get a therapist. Nothing wrong with that. But like beyond that, you know, we live in this era of social media, but people are less social than ever before.
Oh, yeah. When I was just going to say, I think that's part of the reason why people are so they're so averted to sharing their losses and their fuck ups, right? Because all we see all day scrolling through Facebook is everybody's wins.
Yep.
And occasionally what they had for dinner.
Yeah.
But that's really all people show is they took a picture of this party or, oh, I just bought this car or look at my new puppy or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of it too. On social media.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're all on a reality show now. And our reality show is our fucking Facebook, Twitter feeds, and everything else.
And, you know, I'm a very open person. And, you know, if somebody talks to me, like, I'll share my life. I don't care. Like,
yeah,
if I'm not doing good, I'll tell a stranger that asked, oh, no, you know, I could be better. Like, I don't care. But for whatever reason, you know, I'm not like broadcasting that on the internet.
Right.
You know, that's...
Yeah.
The internet gets the highlights.
Yeah.
You know?
You're not like, look what I can do all the time.
The internet gets the photos where I'm like, oh my God, this will be a really cool photo.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like a really cool experience. I want to take a picture of it. You know?
Right.
So
which is
the
cool.
internet doesn't get the photos of me lying on my floor crying because I'm like, this fucking sucks. And I have all of the responsibility for my life is on my shoulders. And it sucks sometimes, you know?
Yeah, which would almost be, I mean, that would probably be better than the people who put a one sentence post on Facebook. Oh, such a horrible fucking day. Why can't this ever end?
Yeah.
And then they get 30 people that is like, oh, sending prayers your way. What happened?
I know.
And then they're like, don't want to talk about it. Like, well, fuck you then. Why did you post that shit?
and, you know, like, I just have this aversion to, like, posting negative whiny things on the internet. So this is actually one of the, like going back to books I'm reading.
Bring them on, man. Oh, man. I need to read more fucking books.
It's validation, right? Like people want validation. And so they're sitting there looking at the internet as a way to get validated, both good and bad, right? Like, so when it's bad, they want validation that it's not that bad and we love you and we're going to take care of you. Or even, you know, me posting like photos that I think are cool that I legitimately try to like spend time on and find like an artistic way to take a picture.
Right.
And find like cool spots with awesome lighting. And like, I enjoy that. I enjoy visual media. I'm like a huge movie guy. And I'm guilty of that when I'm like posting stuff on the internet. Like worrying about how many likes I have or like how many people see it or whatever. And like I'm working on a project right now, like on an artistic thing where I'm just trying to just do it and not do it for likes, you know, not do it for
Just do it for you.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Right. And like get away from that need for validation.
Right.
So whether it's good or bad, and whether it's, oh, you're so cute, handsome, awesome, whatever, or, oh, I'm sorry that you're having a bad day, this or that. And so one of the other morning books I'm reading right now is called The Art Spirit by Robert Henry, who was like a art professor in the 20s or something. Art, when really understood, is the province of every human being. It is simply a question of doing things, anything, well. It is not an outside extra thing. When the artist is alive in any person, whatever his kind of work may be, he becomes an inventive, searching, daring, self-expressive creature. He becomes interesting to other people. He disturbs, upsets, enlightens, and he opens ways for a better understanding. Where those who are not artists are trying to close the book, he opens it. He shows there are still more pages possible. The world would stagnate without him, and the world would be beautiful with him, for he is interesting to himself and he is interesting to others. He does not have to be a painter or a sculptor or an artist. He can work in any medium. He simply has to find the gain in the work itself, not outside it. So that last part, he simply has to find the gain in the work himself, not outside it, right? Like, that speaks directly to our need for validation from other people as humans.
Right.
We're like-whoring ourselves out right now with social media. And it's interesting because the Bhagavad Gita talks about that a lot too, of do your work for the work's sake, not for the end result. Stoicism talks about that. One of the other books I read every morning is the Bible. And
outcome independence is what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like you're doing it because it's the thing you want to do.
Right.
Or the thing that's right to do. And I mean, I've just seen this theme in like every single, like one of my little morning readings. Right. So I got the Bhagavad Gita, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, The Art Spirit, it's titled as The Art of Living, but the traditional title for it is The Manual by Epictetus, which is like another Stoic classic prior to even Marcus Aurelius. And then I read a passage from Jocko Willink's Discipline Equals Freedom.
Yeah, Jocko's great.
Yeah. And so, I mean, every one of these things, right? Like you've got different religions, different philosophies across time, even up to like the things Jocko talks about. It's like outcome independence.
Yeah.
Like
I've been reading Jocko's Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
And I'm about halfway through it, I think now, but that's a great fucking book.
Yeah.
That's helped me in so many different ways I can't even think.
I haven't read that one yet, but
that one's a little bit hard to read too, but he has a lot of like he uses a lot of his combat stories as just different ways to show like, okay, well, this is how you do this and this is what I'm talking about. Just
that's like one of my slight aversions. I've had this slight aversion towards like the military guy book for a while.
Yeah.
Just because in a lot of ways I felt very much that like, yeah, bro, I get it. I had the same experiences too. Like I learned the same lessons. But it's interesting to me now. I've kind of started to get back into the, that military guy genre of book. Like I did not want to read or listen to David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, for the longest time, because I have some friends that are in the ultra running community. This one lady I know that I did some mountaineering instructing with.
Ultra running, like actual running?
Okay, so she was a co-instructor with me in mountaineering school, and she won a race, a 50-mile race that took her to the top of Mount Baker and back down.
Jeez.
So not only was it a double marathon, it was a double marathon up the 10,000-foot glaciated, like actual technical mountaineering climb of Mount Baker and then back down. And she won this. So I was talking to her about, like, somehow the topic of David Goggins came up and she was like, he's a fucking turd. Because in that ultra running community, a lot of people like once that book came out, really were like they were already upset with him because like the first numerous races he ran, like he was a fucking idiot. And wasn't properly trained, wasn't prepared, like didn't have any of the experience like that you need to do stuff like that where you just build up. Like he just was like, fuck it.
He just
like, I'm going to try this.
Jumped in the water and started swimming without knowing how to swim.
Yeah. And like figured it out. And like, that's how he's kind of lived his life. And
yeah. So I mean, that's not bad, I guess, but
yeah. But like a lot of people in that community were upset with it because like the safety issues that it caused. It caused safety issues for people that were on races with him. It encouraged, they felt like, that sort of reckless behavior. So I didn't listen to it or read it for a long time. And then eventually this one guy was like really suggesting it. He was like, no, don't read it. Get the audiobook, listen to the audiobook, because it's him and the guy reading the book, and they'll take breaks from the book and like have podcast style discussion on the topics that had happened, and you get like this way more in-depth view. And he takes responsibility for a lot of that in the audiobook, where he's like, listen, what I did was stupid and nobody else should do that.
Yeah.
Like, do not.
So he's owning it.
Do not go from the night before maxing out deadlifts and squats in the weight room where you haven't done cardio for months and your SEAL buddies think it's hilarious to smoke your legs doing deadlifts and squats the day before you have to go run a marathon just to qualify for the 100-miler you want to do. He's like, that was stupid. I had to go to the hospital. I almost killed myself, and nobody should be an idiot like that.
Yeah. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. And he's like, but I learned, he's like, that was a mistake I made, and I had to pay the price, and I learned from it. Right? Like, that's, even though he completed the event, and then he ended up completing or attempting I think it was like the Baker to Vegas, which is like one of the big ultra marathons. Like, he got into the race, and I don't think he finished it, but he was like, well, I learned from that, and I learned from my mistakes, and I'm gonna do it better next time. And I related to that so much more now, because I was third to last in my Ironman in October. And I was like, this is the worst fucking thing ever. And I felt like a failure for 7 hours as I got in my way through that. But like, I finished, but like, I look at it, I'm like, no, I wasn't finishing. I didn't finish at my full potential. So I'm like, I failed that. So like, I relate to this guy a lot. And so if anybody out there is gonna like, hasn't read his book, Can't Hurt Me, listen to the audiobook for it. I love audiobooks. I don't know if you noticed that maybe, but
see, I can't do the audiobooks. I don't know what it is, but I can't, because I have to be focused, and I'm usually trying to do like 100 different things at once. My brain is just all over the place.
This is why I actually like I wouldn't I wouldn't listen to like a self-help book.
Yeah.
On audio, but like these narrative story books where like you're learning from other people's lives.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be too bad.
So the absolute fucking best audiobook out there ever, Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that man's voice anyways is like,
all right.
Exactly, right? Like, it's just, so you're like listening to one of these super calming Lincoln Navigator commercials for hours on end. But like, the guy has these fascinating stories that he pulls these amazing life lessons out of.
Green Lights?
Green Lights. And so he narrates it, and it's so amazing. And like, you don't, it's one of those ones, you don't need to be concentrating on it.
Yeah.
Like I would just start listening. Once I started listening to it, that just became what I listened to, regardless of what I was doing, whether I was in the car or sitting at my desk or like even working out, until I finished it. Cause it was just so, I remember doing the dishes and like making Alexa play it because it was just that engaging of a story.
I have a guy we work with, and he's all about audiobooks.
Yeah.
He used to work for me running my burn table. That's all he did, was he had his earbuds in all day.
Yeah.
And the machine's running, he'd have his hands in his pockets, and he would do, I mean, I don't know how many books a day or a week, But I mean, that's all he did. Just listen to audiobooks all day.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that's like, he's wicked smart, almost like scary smart.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that's how he does this, because he just consumes information like nobody's business. But
so it's osmosis, and it's in a lot of ways this concept of like the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna start emanating and putting out into the world what when you get your like wavelengths. I don't know. I was just listening to guys talk about it, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But like what you put out in the world is what you start to attract back.
Right.
And like, so it's kind of the same way with your brain. Like what you're putting into your brain, you start putting out into the world. And
which, I mean, that goes the same with everything. That goes with confidence and swagger and all that.
Yeah.
If you walk into a bar like you own the place, and you start talking to everybody with a smile on, you're going to get a lot more back than if you were to just stand in the corner.
And I think a lot of it just, I think people in life, right? Like they're not living this to their full potential.
Yeah.
A lot because they're not willing to be failures, kind of taking it back to that. They're not willing to take objective looks at themselves.
Yeah.
And like admit where they're fucking up.
It's hard.
Where they're struggling,
It's hard to do though.
Yeah.
It's very hard for, anybody.
Yeah.
But it took me forever to learn how to reflect back and look inside, and I try to do that now pretty much all day, every day. Any conversation that I have with my wife, or, this right here, just anything, I'm always self-reflecting. Like, am I being the kind of person, that I would want to talk to? Stuff like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
If my wife is pissed off, I'm not sitting here being like, oh, what's her fucking problem? I'm going to always stop and I'm going to look inside and be like, okay, have I done something today to piss her off? 9 times out of 10 it's probably a yeah, but I'm not getting mad at her for being mad, Yeah. Whereas the old days, I probably would have been.
Yeah. For me, rule number one in life is always, it's my fault.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what it is. Like, how do I, and this is, it's similar to Jocko's philosophy of extreme ownership.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of title it differently for myself, but it's okay. This is happening around me,
right?
Not to me. This is happening around me. How am I responsible for it? And where can I take more responsibility?
Yep.
To resolve it. So that forces you, if you have that mindset, that forces you to look at yourself a lot and go, where am I responsible for this fucking up? Whether it's, personally, with relationships, with, work, whatever, right? Like it's examining things. So I like to tell people, you can't offend me. Like you could upset me by being an asshole, right? Like I'm part Native Alaskan. I don't know what you call Native Alaskans for a racial slur, but like, if you called me that, like that might upset me because you're being a dick.
Yeah.
But I'm not offended because like whatever is a word, right? Like,
right.
But, when people are offended, it's usually because of like one of two things. Because what's being said is completely untrue. And I'm just like, well, I don't care. It's not true.
Yeah. If it's not true, what the fuck do I care?
Doesn't say it all you want. I don't care. That's not going to faze me. Or it's because when people say something, it hits too close to home. And it's too close to being true or exactly true. And I like to always have looked at myself as harshly as possible so that nobody's ever going to say something that is true that makes me want to like get defensive. Where I'm like, I don't like hearing that because that makes me feel bad. Like I probably have already thought about myself, Yeah,
that's a good thought. You're talking about, you can't offend me or hurt my feelings because you can't say anything to me that I haven't already said to myself at some point.
Yeah. And not even in a like negative self-depreciating way. Right. Just in a taking an honest evaluation, going back, like I'm constantly after action reviewing AAR, that's what we call them in the Army, my life, okay, this happened. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? What can I do differently? Heck, when my kids went through Boy Scouts, after every Boy Scout event, they would sit them down, they would go, all right, start, stop, continue. It's like as simple as that. And I try to apply that to every area of my life so that I'm never blindsided when things go wrong, which they still do because I'm human.
Yeah.
But when I take that blindside hit, I stop and I look at it and I go, okay, well, how did I get blindsided by that? What went wrong? What did I do right in that situation? What can I do differently? Like, what do I need to start doing so that doesn't happen again? And it's like what I was writing in that failure thing, you know, try, fail, tweak, repeat.
Yeah.
Just constantly in that cycle.
Just don't keep doing the same exact thing over and over again.
Yeah. Like if it's not getting you the results you want, then don't do that. You know, I have a friend who is dating as a 40-year-old man, and like for the longest time was just doing the same thing, and then it's like, oh well, I'm not getting any dates, I'm not getting any matches, I'm not getting any of this. I'm like, okay, well, maybe we should do something different. Give me your phone. And like rewrote his Tinder profile for him and took good pictures of him and like helped him reframe the whole image he was putting out to the world as to why he's a dateable man.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he has had probably 10 dates in the past 2 weeks.
Did you take the picture of him holding a puppy and then the other one of him carrying like a heavy box so his muscles show, but he's not showing off?
Well, so he can do things like handstands. So
there you go.
There you go.
Acrobatics.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good in that department. And, you know, he's a yoga instructor, man. Like oh man, we're going to circle back to handsome, bad decision Brandon on the day we were golfing, because I didn't finish this story.
Yeah.
Because this is a story, had I not saw it with my own 2 eyes from 4 feet away, I would never fucking believe anybody who said this happened to them. So we're sitting out on the patio at Capone's. We've got some like wings and fries that we're just eating before we go golf. And there's 3 of us. And then over, you know, at a table, you know, 6-10 feet away, something, there is a group of mixed age people, but mostly, you know, probably young to mid 20s of co-ed people. And this one young lady who is tall, but like nice thick, you know, got some cushion for the pushing or whatever. I don't know if I can say that on your podcast.
Say whatever you want, man.
But, you know, an attractive...
I like a little extra cushion.
Yeah, an attractive young 20-year-old. So, like, she walked by, Brandon's single at the time, and Brandon's, like, kind of just, like, looks at her and watches her walk by. Like, I do the same thing, like, give a check out. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, you know? Like, we would check out girls a lot. Like, that was... And then converse about it, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, occasionally when we've both been single, we would hit on said girls and have fun like that. But Brandon just sits there. He's sitting at the corner of the table facing the other table that's, you know, 10 feet away. And throughout this time we're eating chicken and wings, like I'm sitting with my back to the table and facing Brandon, and I'm just watching him kind of constantly like give his head a little nod, like doing the, you know, like across the room nod, and like a little like wink every now and then. And I'm like, what are you doing, bro? He's like, I'm just making eyes at her. So this table of people gets up and they all filter off the patio and around over to the cars. And this young lady kind of lingers, waits till everybody else has gone off the patio and now is walking, you know, where they're not going to be looking back at the patio. And she saunters up to the table, and Brandon's sitting in a chair on the patio, you know, leaned back in the chair, just chilling, beer in his hand. I'm sitting across from him, staring right at him. She stands right up next to him and standing over him, looks down at him, goes, hey. He goes, hey. She goes, I'm Mandy or whatever. I'm Brandon. She then bends down and for 2 minutes plays tongue hockey. Like, while me and the other dude are just like sitting there going, what the fuck is happening?
So she just walks up and starts making out with him?
Yeah.
Like random stranger? Like,
yeah, because he sat there making eyes at her for like, he made no effort.
Yeah.
Did absolutely nothing other than make eyes at her for 30 minutes.
Well, it helps when you look like Brandon.
I know. Dude, yeah. So my other nickname for him is Handsome Brandon, and that's how I describe him to women.
Sancho.
Yeah. Which now I don't do anymore because he's not single. So now I just call him Bad Decision Brandon to women. But, you know, I would describe him as, I would talk him up. I would wingman the fuck out of him. But I didn't have to in this instance. And I was just like,
Yeah.
Huh? How? What just happened? And he was like, I don't know, it just happens sometimes. I'm like, this just happens sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah.
And I'm trying to think, like, I've had
Boy, what a problem to have.
No. And like, I know I'm not an unattractive 40-year-old man, and I've had some pretty interesting experiences in my life, but nothing like where I didn't have to at least put in a little bit of effort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you just looked at her for 30 minutes. Freaking wild.
Yeah, I can't say that I've ever had that experience myself.
I have some interesting stories with Brandon. One time at 2 a.m., I delivered a female to his door. Like I'm not shitting you. Like it was like a delivery. In fact, it was the same night.
Like, how does that work? Somebody that you met and you were like, hey, I think you would like my friend Brandon.
Okay.
Or like some chick friend of his that he was like, hey, can you give her a ride over?
This was the exact same night that Jared got mental STDs from the cougar. So this was kind of an epic night of
He got brain AIDS.
Yeah, brain AIDS. And so Brandon, this very attractive, tall, blonde girl that I know meets Brandon early in the evening when we're doing stuff, axe throwing. I don't think she'll ever listen to this podcast because she would instantly know. So let's hope not, because she would kill me for putting this out there.
Oh, we don't have to use her name.
Yeah, well, if I even gave like an accurate physical description of her, like most people in the area would be, oh, I know who that is. But yeah, so she had her eye on Brandon very early in the evening and was like asking me questions about him. I'm like, just go fucking talk to, like, I'm not, you're an adult and so is he.
I'm not
like,
his keeper, damn it.
Yeah, like, go say hi. Because, fun fact, a lot of women really, like, they suck at picking dudes up, right? Because they don't want to make the first move.
Yeah.
Because rejection and all that. So, like, I'm just like, just shut up. Just go say hi. Like, he'll talk to you. So anyways, this evening, like, started axe throwing, then was at bars downtown, and then we ended up going up to, like, the dance club Mix, where it's, like, DJ music.
Yeah, that place is like college kids' mom's basement.
Yeah, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's a grand time occasionally, though.
Yeah.
And
I've seen some crazy shit there.
so we're going up there, and I'm already having to, like, explain to Jared how to not be an idiot with the cougar. I'm like, listen, dude, in like 5 minutes, I told him when we walked in, I was like, you can get a drink, but you have 5 minutes. And then you're going to tell her, hey, do you want to get out of here and just go sit in some place, you know, quieter? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, she's so into you. She wants to, like, hang out with you, but, like, just invite her to go back to your place.
Are you talking about Brandon and...
I'm talking about Jared stuff.
Oh, okay.
So Jared and the cougar. I, like, have to put Jared on a timer.
That sounds like a show.
Yeah, and God, he's gonna kill me when he listens to this too. But all my stories are fun, and they involve my friends being awesome. And so, like, 5 minutes goes by, and I go find Jared, and I tap him on the shoulder, and I tap my watch, and he's like, "Fine." And then, you know, later I'm looking at my phone. He's like, "Bro, I can't believe that worked." I'm like, "It's not that difficult, dude. Like,
Yeah.
just don't be a socially inept."
You got confidence and swagger, man.
Yeah, like, read the fact that she's already making out with you in a public place.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, she likes you. You're not you're not in danger of getting rejected here.
Yeah. Has she said no yet?
Yeah. So then Brandon just disappears, like, after 15, 20 minutes there. Like, you know, this tall, beautiful woman was apparently too much for him to, like, deal with. And I'm like, where'd you go, bro? Like, she's asking where they're at. And he's like, oh, you know, I was just getting it too in my head about her or whatever. I don't know. Or too enthralled with it. And I just went home. And his actual words were too pussy-brained. But once again, I don't know if...
Is that even a thing?
You just have to bleep it out if you don't want it.
Doesn't matter to me.
So the night ends, and believe it or not, even though it was my birthday party, this was like 2019, I'm actually completely sober. Because I was doing like a no alcohol fast, like no alcohol and then fasting food as well.
Yeah.
The week before Thanksgiving. I don't know why.
Which is probably good if you're fasting to not drink.
Yeah, so I'm not drinking. Still had a blast, but I'm the designated driver, so I'm now, like, my car's loaded up with women, and because all my friends have left, and she's in the back seat. She goes, "Call Brandon." And so I'm like, okay, whatever. I call him, and I'm like, "Hey, Brandon, where you at?" He's like, "Oh, I'm already at home." And she's just yelling in the back seat. She's like, "What's your address?" So like he gives me his address because I don't think I had it yet at that point. This was like early in our friendship. And so I drive and I'm like, and then like I walk her from my car through the picket gate up to the like steps of the house and like knock on the door. And I'm like, give him a hug. I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, happy birthday, bro." And I'm like,
"Yeah, here's your present."
Happy birthday. At 3 a.m., whatever that was. So, yeah, we have some crazy, ridiculous times.
Jeez.
I don't know how we got on that story. Oh, Handsome Brandon, yeah.
Handsome Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
circling back to you. So I'm curious, what elected office did you hold?
I was on one of the political parties' central committees in the area, and it was a 7-person board that ran the local political party, but it was like elected. You had to be elected. You were on the county ballot, and probably for a district of like 300,000 people. I don't know, but yeah, to like actually campaign and.
So is it more of like like legislative entourage? So
you basically, so we have them here too. Central committees are the party leadership for whatever the districting in that, however the districting in that state works. So here in Idaho, it's on like county level. So there's a Kunai County Republican and Democratic Central Committee that has innumerable districts. I think we have like 50 districts on a central committee here.
Yeah, it's split up quite a bit.
Yeah, so there's not that much power. In fact, a lot of the seats sit vacant. There's not that much power in that. That ends up just being run by, people who've already been in it and who have amassed the power. But for this one, because it's only a 7-person board and you're in a 200,000 person district or whatever, there's a lot of power that central committee has to endorse candidates and raise money and then dole out that money and spend on advertising and
put in their pockets.
Exactly, right? Like, give a contract for some sort of consulting service to one of the members' companies.
Yeah.
Things like that. So yeah, it had some power and it had some money and stuff like that behind it. It wasn't a paid position, but there's all sorts of I had to go to like campaign events. I was already doing it anyways because I was up and running a campaign and I was trying to build my little network and become my little. So when I graduated high school, I wrote down, everyone puts like, "Oh, what's your future goals?" And I wrote down POTUS. And everyone in my class was like, "You arrogant son of a bitch."
Were you in like debate team or any of that?
So I went to a high school, crazily enough, in the county of Los Angeles, where like the second or third largest metropolitan area in the country. I graduated from a high school where my graduating class was 21 kids.
Jeez.
Because I went to a little private Christian school.
Yeah.
And
so say that's not a public school.
No. The public schools there was like at that time 3, maybe 4. Now there's like 6 of them or something in that city. But they had, their graduating classes were like 800 to 1,000 kids, so there was a crap ton of kids. And it was like a little sports haven. Like we had like an NFL quarterback coming out of that valley, and running backs, and World Series MVP that my brother played baseball with, and just tons of people were coming out of that valley. Just shit ton of kids, and kids of by that point, middle and upper middle class and upper class white people in the suburbs and ranch areas of LA dumping money into their kids' sports and shit like that. But I went to like this little private school, so I had to do a debate, but only as part of a speech class. But I had to do everything else. I was on the football team, the basketball team, the volleyball team. I was in the choir. I did drama. I was like on the chapel team. So the first time I ever got elected to anything was my senior year, when I got elected class president. And I will say elected in air quotes. Because I think our total high school enrollment, because it was K through 12, our total high school enrollment was like 100-ish kids between all 4 grades. It was getting bigger every year. I think my parents, when I went there, they had to pay like $3,000 a year in tuition in the like 98 to 2000. And it's like $20,000 in tuition now for a kid. So they've gotten like a lot bigger, more prestigious, I guess, in the years since. But I got elected class president, but I had to share it with the girl who ran for class president. Because this campaign, she was the valedictorian, and this campaign we got pretty vicious as high school seniors, because I was not the high school valedictorian. I was the class smartass, and
but how do you like share?
Yeah, well, so here's what happened. Myself and the other even more smartass ran opposing the valedictorian and her like lackey. 2 girls versus us 2 dudes who are like, I was the athlete stud, I'm 6.5 feet tall and like the captain of the basketball and volleyball team. But like academically, I'm very smart, but I don't like school. So like C's get degrees. In fact, D's are still passing grade. So like if I can do no homework and no reading, like I will not do it. I wrote an entire essay that I got a B+ on in English Lit on Wuthering Heights, and I never read a page of the book. Like,
did you just watch the movie and then kind of figure it out?
I didn't even watch the movie. I just I would just listen to what they would talk about each week.
And like made shit up based on that?
Yeah,
or what?
and like deduced. And I will never read that book, because the shit I listened to him talk about, I was like, what a horrible, horrible story. But so we'll call it like 120 kids total in the high school that can vote. There was 340 plus votes cast. We both tickets ended with more votes than students. So cheating was rampant on both sides.
Yeah.
It wasn't just us that cheated, because I absolutely encouraged and participated in ballot box stuffing as a high school senior. And
I was going to say, they must have had those Dominion machines back then too.
Yeah. And like, you got to do what you got to do to win. You know what I mean? Like winning isn't.
It's pretty much everyone voted twice.
Yeah. And plus a few extra. Winning's not the most important thing. It's the only thing. And yeah, so the vice principal like brought us in and sat us all down, and he was like, Adam, your vice president is there. He's not going to be involved. Like, I refuse to let that happen. Cause that kid was like, he was the class fuck up, but everybody loved him, but he was just like the class fuck up. And I was, for whatever reason, I've always had a natural talent where, I make people like me, I guess. I don't know. I have charisma. And so all the faculty and teachers, despite my lazy studentship, all loved me because I knew how to kiss ass. And so this guy like thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread, because I knew how to play the part. So he was like, here's what we're going to do. Other tickets lackey, you get to be vice president by yourself. The two of you are going to split class presidency. And I was like, sweet, go on my college resume. You can do all the work. So I don't think I did a single, I went to a couple meetings as class president, but I'm like, dude, like these two girls, like, A, I'm going to get outvoted in everything. So like, fuck you guys. And then B, like, they're just overly zealous about everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't need to make it this hard to plan the pep rally. Like, come on, you know.
So the two meetings you went to, you're sitting in the back filing your nails while they do everything.
Yeah. I'm like rubber stamping shit. And so eventually I was just like, just do the work. And like, I don't care. I already got the title. Like, there are 100 children in our high school. This isn't that complicated.
Yeah.
And
Hang
plus,
some decorations and put up a stereo.
and then, like, you know, like I said, I was also busy doing basketball and volleyball and drama and choir. And I had to sing solos in choir.
Oh, for real?
Oh my God. Yeah.
You a karaoke guy?
I love karaoke. I don't know if I'm good at karaoke. I love to perform. I love I feel like you either got to be one of those singers where people are like, holy shit.
Yeah.
How are you? Wait, what? Like, where you're so blown away by it? Like, because they're up there belting out some Adele song and you're like, is Adele here?
Yeah.
What? Or you just have to be very engaging and sing the correct songs that get people going.
Right.
Where you can perform.
Well, it depends on what time of night it is.
Yeah.
The crowd at, midnight is very different than the crowd at 9 when you get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
By midnight, they're all hammered and everybody thinks everybody sounds great.
I mean, I remember I was in LA for work a couple years back, and the little startup tech company I was working with, had a bunch of people in town, so we were going to do like a team building. The company was going to pay for us to drink, eat, and sing karaoke.
Sweet.
And we went over to Koreatown in LA and rented out like one of the like karaoke rooms. So then we crammed like 12 of us, and this is the first time I've ever done karaoke like this. I've always done it at bars and stuff like that where
is this like
there.
This is like an actual room, right? Where you can go, and does it have like a private bar?
So you can bring
karaoke.
You bring all your own stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'm sure you've seen some sort of like Asian rendition of this where it's like kind of like mirrored and lighted.
Yes.
And then there's like a TV screen in the wall where you can like select songs like from the whole karaoke catalog. And then you're just in a room with the people you came with karaokeing.
See, I didn't even know this was a fucking thing, but my brother has a funny ass story about the same thing. And I was like, wait. So now forget all that. You're telling me there's a place you can go where you can rent a room with your buddies to just karaoke and get hammered? And he's like, yeah, you've never fucking heard of that? I'm like, no.
Yeah. I don't know too many, man, I wish more people would do that, but people don't even go to karaoke night out here.
Oh, fuck, I do.
But, yeah.
I'll hit you up.
That was like
next time we go.
Heck yeah. So they do it at Storm and Norman's too, where my lady is a bartender, so
they do it at Norman's, they do it at Corby's here in Post Falls. The Corner Bar in Coeur d'Alene used to do it. We usually go to Razzles up in Hayden.
Yeah.
Theirs is pretty good. But
Razzles is gross. I went to Razzles one time.
It's kind of a dive.
I went to
but it's
Razzles
fun.
one time for a Saliva concert.
Recently.
This was a couple years ago.
Really? Because they just came through.
Yeah, apparently Saliva now tours
dive bars,
shitty dive bars in the middle of Hayden, Idaho. I'm like, Saliva had like a Billboard topping rock song in the early 2000s, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh man, I think Boom or something was the name of the song. I don't know. I was never really into them much. I mean, they're okay, but so as far as I know, the gal who owns Razzles, her husband who just passed away, he used to be like in the music business. And so that's why they played there, because like she still kind of knows some of the people that he knew. Yeah. And she or somebody had heard that they were coming through town. And so, they were like, hey, so-and-so just passed, would you be willing to go do, like a remembrance show or something, just, hang out, say hi. And they did it, which is cool of them,
Well, I remember going to this concert and looking around and being like, this is a weird place to watch at least what in my brain is a band that should be playing somewhere better than that.
Yeah.
And then also remember it just smelling and feeling like it smelled like disappointment in mom's basement. And so I love.
Have you been there since?
No.
Yeah, they've put some new paint on the walls and.
But like,
See, I never went there years ago, so I mean I don't really have a whole lot to compare it to, but
I love live music. I love rock music too. Going to rock music shows though is such a weird experience as a full-grown man. Because like when you're in your 20s and you have all that angst, and you're like these are my people, yeah, like let's mosh pit. I was at a Five Finger Death Punch concert with boring best friend, which we haven't talked about, Alex. And Alex is boring best friend because he works in like risk management and quality assurance, and like he'll tell you like that's how he runs his life with spreadsheets. And then occasionally we go do crazy adventures where he climbs mountains and does risky things to get out of his comfort zone. So he's still cool like that. But was at a Five Finger Death Punch concert with Alex a couple years back, and we're on the floor. And like Five Finger Death Punch is like very, very much like young, angry male music.
yes.
And like that's the crowd it attracts. And like I love it. It's great. It's great gym music. It's like gets me going. And so we're on the floor and like it starts mosh pitting. And I just remember thinking like, what the fuck is happening? Like why? Like you get this space on the floor that just kind of like parts.
Yeah, they're getting the fuck out of the way.
Yeah, and so it turns into like the fucking gladiator arena. Like I'm not shitting you.
Yeah.
There was this dude, and like I'm a big guy. I'm 6'5" and like 270 and like strong and muscular with a beer belly. And I'm trying to get rid of that. But like there's this dude that I swear to God looked like Thor Bjornsson, the mountain, the like world strongman guy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And like taller than me, so like 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", who fuck knows, and just 350 pounds of solid muscle, not an ounce of fucking fat on him. And he is stomping around the middle, like stomping with his shirt off, like beating his chest, like pointing and calling people out, who are then running across this fucking gladiator circle in the middle of a Five Finger Death Punch concert floor as he like shoulder checks people and then like throwing people around. And I'm like, why the fuck are these people doing this? Like, what is the appeal? Like, I'm fascinated watching it, but like, I don't have anything to prove by being I'm going to get my ass knocked on the floor by that guy, and that's going to fucking hurt. Like, for what?
See, I was never big into the mosh pit. It just wasn't my thing. My wife, on the other hand, fucking loves it. So like when we go to Guar, as soon as the mosh pit starts, usually she's the one who disappears behind me, and I'm trying to get to the front to get as close as possible so I can get covered in piss and blood and everything. And I'm looking over my shoulder once, every few minutes, just watching her face go by like, ah! And I'm like, yeah, she's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never been the one to be in the mosh pit. And especially now that I'm older, when that starts going, I look at it and I feel old, because the first thing I think of is, I don't have enough insurance for that shit.
Dude, I don't even know if I was like young that I wanted to do that. Like, okay, let's like put gloves on and like go at it. Sure. Like,
yeah, I did it a couple of times when I was
basic
younger.
training, like throw on a like a football helmet that doesn't fit your head.
Yeah.
The pugil sticks, and you get to like knock the shit out of each other. Like, yeah, let's do that. But like, that's a fair fight, and there's a purpose.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the middle of a concert that I'm trying to like, I don't know. I've never wanted to like go try to like just plow into people.
Well, it's hard to enjoy a show with a busted face too.
I know. Yeah, like the bloody messes.
Yeah, I don't get it. I did it a couple of times when I was younger, but yeah, anymore I'm just like, fuck that. I don't get it. One of the times I did it though, we had this one. God, he had to be like really young, dude, either late teens, early 20s, and he jumps in and he's just like flailing around like he's sprinklering himself and just throwing arms and elbows and hands in every direction and like hitting people and knocking people down and just spazzing the fuck out.
Yeah.
And this dude who, I mean, he was actually probably bigger than you. He had to be close to like 7 foot. One of the security guys, but he comes stomping in and he's just pushing up people out of the way. He's parting the Red Sea of people and they're just fucking moving because this guy's so damn big. Comes over, palms this kid's face like a basketball, picks him up, and then him and 2 other dudes throw his ass literally out the side door, shut the door, and he just swipes his hands together like, yep, took out the trash, and then goes back to what he's doing. I was like, oh shit. Yeah, I got the fuck out of that because I didn't want to be in there. I was like, I'm gonna go stand over here and just enjoy the show now.
Jeez. Yeah, like it's just senseless. So, but like I get that same feeling over like, it's like dudes who haven't showered in
oh yeah
a little while, and
what? Yeah, and that's
haven't done their
thing.
Laundry, and it's like
anymore
it smells
it's
like mom's basement and disappointment.
Patchouli, unwashed bodies. Yeah, it drives me nuts.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't do chicks with dreads. That just grosses me out.
I've never, I don't know. I can be attracted to it, but I'm not sure if I'd really like it. Like I feel like it's a little bit like kind of gross. So
startups. So
yeah.
So are you like a coder?
Yeah, so I build websites and apps for very, very large, like Fortune 500 businesses and government and NGOs and stuff like that. So enterprise level applications. I've been doing that for.
And you work for a specific company that does that, or are you on your own?
I do it on my own. I freelance and occasionally I'll take full-time positions, stuff like that. But honestly, it's kind of boring. It's interesting in a lot of ways that I apply a lot of the same ways I live my life to the way I work, like the style of work I do, of try, fail, tweak, repeat. So that's what I spend a lot of my day doing with coding, and maybe that's why it's given me that sort of perspective on life, because, especially the industry I'm in, people get business requirements, like, hey, we need this new feature that people can click on a button on the website and turn into an owl. And you're like, you're an idiot. That's what? It's not a thing that's possible in this reality, let alone on the internet. But then you have to like take it and you got to ask a bunch of questions, right? Like, okay, why? Why do you want that feature? Because I know you think you want the feature where they can click a button and turn into an owl, but like, why? What's driving that need? Like, what are you needing the users to experience or do, or, but like, we need to know why. We can't even talk about the who, what, when, where, and how we're going to make your feature happen until we actually understand why. So then we take that why, and we turn it into some sort of understanding. Okay, here's what we understand what your needs are. So what you're saying when you say you want somebody to click a button and turn into an owl, what you're saying is you want to give people an experience of what it's like being an owl. Like you want people to really like understand that for some reason, because you are an owl conservancy. I don't know why I started talking about owls, but like, okay, so now that's a feature we can start to discuss. Like, now we understand your reason. We understand the why, the purpose of what you're asking for. Now we can start discussing what the actual solutions are. And so like, this is, I try to live my life this way too, right? Like communicating with other humans. Like, okay, what's going on here? Like, why? Why is this important to you? What are you, like, not just what are you saying, but like, what are you doing? And like, let's understand the why, so that we can pull from that like a better understanding and a better plan to address what it is you need. It's generally kind of a good way to be in a relationship with other humans, right? Like,
right.
That communication like that. So then, I have to then take that, and after we discover the why, and then we come up with a plan to try to address like a satisfactory conclusion or a satisfactory solution to their why, in my industry, they want to start having meetings after meetings after meetings where you start talking about all these different ideas and like, well, this and that, and blah, 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 blah. And then spending, in bad places I've worked, half my time in meetings talking about things and never doing them, which I hate very much in life.
Yeah, especially corporate meetings.
Yeah.
Meetings can get so fucking droll and bogged down with horse shit that's like, okay, are we actually being productive here?
But I hate it with like just life in general. This idea of talk over action, right? Like people talk so much about what they're gonna do or what they want to do or hopes and dreams and this and that, and
rarely accomplish very much.
Yeah, and you know, it's this theme has been coming up in my life a lot lately. Is you know, people want to talk and they want to come up with a perfect plan. They want to know, okay, well, here's my goal. And like, here's where I'm at. So like, what are steps 1 through 100 to get there? And like, as human beings, I heard Jordan Peterson say recently, like we're very good as a species about like finding something to aim at. Mm-hmm. Like that's like a universal thing for humans is we're very good at like pointing at something and then moving in that direction towards it. But a lot of people don't want to actually like move in that direction. They want to talk and figure out a plan, this and that and blah, blah, blah. And so I've told God, probably a dozen people in the past couple of weeks had this same conversation about a shitty plan executed now with violence of action is better than a perfect plan executed later. Something I learned in the Army, right? Like executing something now and doing it violently, like with all of your force, everything that you've got is always going to get you a better result than trying to come up with the perfect plan.
Right. There is no perfect plan.
Yeah.
Usually.
In the words of Mike Tyson, right? Like everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the same thing in life, right? Like just too much talk about stuff instead of just like, okay, step 1, like take it, then figure out step 2. I don't need to know step 2 through 99 to get from step 1 to 100.
Right.
I just need to know what step I'm on and what the next step is. And sometimes you get there and you don't even know what the next step is. You got multiple options. And so you have to like just pick one.
Right.
And then you know what? If it's the fucking wrong one, back up, fix it, try something different, try the other ones. And so that's where like what I do for work comes in too, where it's, I don't want to have all these fucking meetings. I want to take that why from the client and I want to start coding. I just want to start. I'll figure it out, but I'll figure it out by having a general idea, right? Like I have a it's not that I don't have a plan. I do have a plan. I have a general idea. And I've also been like in the actual coding world. I've been doing this thing long enough that I know the basic structures needed to make things happen in that sense, which once again, similar with life, right? Like get good at stuff. And then, you know, you'll have those, you don't need to know steps 1 through 100 because you have the basic structures already in life in place. You know, for me, that's going to the gym. That's reading, that's meditation, eating healthy, and just trying to like constantly learn and challenge myself. That's my general structure so that I can take those steps. And in coding, for me, it's like I just want to start coding. Boom, let's code, let's get something going. And then like I'm just constantly running the code and seeing the result.
Yeah. Start with a base and then just keep practicing until you get something that you want.
Yeah, and it's
just kind of like doing a sculpture.
Yeah, it's this iterative process.
Yeah.
Just over and over again. I'm like, try, fail, repeat, try, fail, repeat, try, fail, tweak, repeat. So
I'm getting a flash right now of Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore in Ghost working with the pot.
You know, so I'm a huge movie guy, and I don't know if I've ever actually watched Ghost.
For real?
Yeah. It's just something, I don't know.
I think I just watched it again recently. I mean, it's a great movie, really.
I mean, I love some 80s Demi Moore.
Yeah, she's pretty fucking hot in that movie.
Yeah.
I'm not usually big on like short hair, but man, she rocked it pretty good. Yeah, just that whole thing, you know, with the clay, like what you're talking about.
I mean, yeah, I know the scene.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to start somewhere. Take the ball of clay, throw it on the fucking, you know, little spinny table and just start working with something. Even if you don't know what the hell you want, just start moving your hands and getting into it, and then it'll eventually become something. Yeah. But if you don't do anything, then that ball of clay is still just going to be a ball of fucking clay. And you can sit there and talk all day about what you want it to be, But if you don't actually do anything, you're not going to get anywhere with it.
Yeah. And one of the other books I just recently listened to was called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, I love his books. He wrote Legend of Bagger Vance that got like turned into a movie.
Yeah.
Like he's done some other
That's a pretty
stuff
decent
like that.
movie
So
too.
he's like an actual writer. And he's got this great book that I actually sent to my kid who's in basic training, who's graduating next week from U.S. Army Infantry School. And which there are a lot of books now.
Is that your
in basic
oldest boy?
training. It's my youngest boy.
Oh, okay.
Middle child. He's 18 years old. He's a baby. I'm like, apparently I was a baby too. So, but you're allowed to have books now in basic training. And he's like, send me books, Dad. And I'm like, oh, captive audience. Yay. So I sent that little fucker, like the complete works of Plato, The Art of War, this book called The Warrior Ethos by Stephen Pressfield. I sent him Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I sent him like a little reader book of like the 100 greatest American poems, and then the world's greatest short stories. So it's full of things from like Tolstoy and Kafka and James Joyce and Faulkner and like all these
That's actually one I've been looking at
classical
buying.
artists or writers. So I'm like, you're going to be a fucking warrior poet. Like you're going to come out of this like ranger training by the time you're done, and you're going to be a deadly special operator that can fucking outthink anybody. Like that's my goal for sending him those things. So listen to his book, Stephen Pressfield, War of Art, and he talks about how resistance is the enemy of art. And, you know, tying it back into the kind of that earlier quote from the Art Spirit book, right? Like art is doing anything well. It's not about writing, painting, taking photos, sculpting, dancing. Those are all forms of art, but doing anything well and doing it for the sake of doing it well is art.
Yeah. Anything you have a passion for that you just maybe have a natural ability for, or you've gotten good at it.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's nothing's natural ability, right? Like there's a quote out there, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Nobody, like, it doesn't matter how naturally talented you are. If Michael Jordan hadn't put in hundreds of thousands of hours of practice in his life, he wouldn't have been Michael Jordan.
Right.
If Tom Brady to this day is a 45-year-old, like getting hit full steam by 25-year-old monsters of science and nutrition. As a 45-year-old man, like that hurts me to think about. Like if he wasn't out there putting in the hundreds of thousands of hours he's put in to his mind and body,
right,
he wouldn't be doing that.
Being
right?
dedicated to the sport, his art.
Yeah, like football is his art because he's doing the work for the work's sake, right? And it's like natural talent. Everybody's got natural talent. People waste it. They just don't do the work. But so art is essentially anything good, right? Like anything good you do is art. And so Stephen Pressfield talks about how resistance is the enemy of art. Like it doesn't matter whether you're sitting down to write a book and you're staring at a blank page, or whether you're laying in your bed when the alarm clock goes off to wake you up to go to the gym. Like resistance is the enemy of good. And nobody ever has any resistance at being a douchebag. You know what I mean? Like there's no resistance there. There's nothing that makes that hard.
Yeah.
There's nothing that gets in the way of you being a piece of shit.
Yeah. It's easy to be a dick.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to do anything well because you have to put effort into it.
Yeah. So like resistance is the enemy of art, and basically our life is art. So
I like that.
Doing anything good is going to take overcoming resistance. And when you start trying to overcome resistance, you're going to fail. It's going to crush you sometimes. And then you got to get back up. You got to try again. Do something different until you succeed.
I like to think that the only time you ever really fail is when you submit to failure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quitting.
Yeah.
Quitting is failure. That's the only... I've tried to always tell my kids growing up, like, you know, there's no such thing as winners and losers. It was like there's losers and learners.
Yeah. Well, I mean, natural talent or the ability to do something, I mean, that does come into play.
Well, yeah, like, I'm not going to tell a midget, like, you should pour all of your time and effort into playing basketball. I'm sorry, a little person. You should pour all of your time and effort into playing basketball because one day you can overcome your natural genetic deficiencies and be an NBA superstar. Like,
yeah.
You know, Tom Brady has genetic advantages that make him able to play football at 45 that you and I don't have.
Right.
Michael Jordan had genetic advantages. The world's best Olympic weightlifter has genetic advantages. And, you know, that translate into talent or whatever. But
yeah, but that plays into...
They still have to work their fucking ass off.
Right. But that plays into, you know, this whole culture today of, well, you can do anything if you put your mind to it and blah, blah, blah. Like, yes and no.
So the problem that I have with that statement is that it's too much. It's if you put your mind to it, like, fuck that. You can accomplish just about anything within reality.
Yeah.
If you work fucking hard enough at it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I don't like to be the one to like crush people's dreams or anything. I don't like doing that. But I mean, I've had my own dreams, you know, like I wanted to be a commercial pilot at one point, and it turned out the stuff that it requires, I feel like I'm not really good at.
Yeah.
Like math and learning a lot about aerodynamics and all this other shit that I'm like, nah, fuck that. That's way too hard for my brain to comprehend.
Yeah.
It's just not something that's in my wheelhouse. So, you know, you have to be able to, as far as quitting, you have to be able to learn where your limit is. Yeah. Maybe you're just not good at that. Not everybody is meant to be, you know, a championship baseball player or a championship football player or whatever it is.
Well, you can't do all the things all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to,
really
pick your battles.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, as far as failing goes, you know, yeah, maybe you should quit trying to be, you know, a superstar basketball player because you don't have the genetic ability to be good at it. But that doesn't mean you're a failure. You're only failing if you just submit and say that, well, I'm not good at anything, and then don't ever do anything.
Yeah, and it comes now, though, you kind of get back to outcome independence, right? And like doing work for the work's sake of, like, you're not doing it for the end goal. Like artists don't, like painters, we'll just use painters as artists. Painters don't paint in order to be popular.
Right. They paint because they like to paint.
Yeah. Painters don't paint for the sole purpose of selling artwork. In fact, most painters who paint will have a hard time, like they'll have a hard time with doing commissions and stuff like that, where it's like not, where it feels like they're selling their soul. Right. You know, like the artists that talk about that, you know, when they have to do commercial gigs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's...
Well, Kurt Cobain talked about shit like that all the time. He fucking hated commercial music and the music industry in and of itself.
Yeah. So, because it creates a cycle of being concerned about the outcome of, well, is this song going to sell if I record it? Is this book going to sell? Am I going to get the likes? Am I going to get... you know, the media attention? Am I gonna, like, whatever? So it's, you know, it's about, like, you can do anything that you want to put the work into within reason, you know, and because ultimately what you should be wanting to do is the work.
Yeah.
If you want the outcome, you're already fucked. So when you say, you know, you can do anything that you put the work into, if what you're saying is you want the outcome, then you're already fucked. But if what you're saying is, well, I want the work, then you're already accomplishing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so it doesn't matter.
Yep. Yeah, you're already succeeding just by trying.
And it's a weird thing. Like, success is such a weird thing to measure. And I've tried to, you know, I've got mostly adult age kids now. And I've tried to instill in them that, like, my version of success is drastically different than yours. Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't fucking care what your version is. It doesn't matter to me. Like, not in a negative way. Like, in a way of like, like,
you're not going to push them all to be doctors and lawyers. And
I don't,
because it's not your path, it's theirs.
Yeah. I don't need you to be anything for me or my sake. Like, what I want is for you to find your own version of success, whatever that looks like. If that means being a globally touring, worldwide known death metal artist, awesome. Like, I support it. Like, go for it. But like, I should be hearing you play your guitar. Like, I should have to come down here every fucking day and be like, put your headphones on or stop playing that.
Yeah.
Because you should be pissing me off with how much you're playing it.
Yeah.
You know, not playing video games. Or, you know, if you want to, like the one right now in basic training that's trying to be an Army Ranger that's going to be an Army Ranger. It's like the most prepared 18-year-old I've ever seen in my life. And like, smoke that training. It's like 3 months of like beat downs, and then they like beat the shit out of you for a month. And then they spend the next like month and a half teaching you how to like blow shit up and breach doors and,
So were you a Ranger?
Fuck people up. So this is like my one life regret is that. So I was in the Ranger selection program. It was called RIP back then, on September 11th, 2001. And of my own failures, right? Like in life, this is where I've learned my best lessons in life is from my failures. With my own failures there, I did not adequately prepare myself physically to tackle that. And I knew it going in. I knew I was weak on pull-ups, which I needed to be a lot stronger on. And I knew I had fucked around during airborne school and not really been taking cardio seriously. So I knew I was going to struggle on the 5-miler. And failed the PT test and like had to kind of make the decision of like, do I stay and hang around for another month or two to recycle and retry this? Or do I just quit? And I didn't want to hang around, so I quit. Right? Like one of the dumbest fucking things that an 18-year-old kid could have done was quit on this thing. And, I look back on that in my life, and I'm like, that was probably one of the most valuable life lessons I could have ever learned. A year later, I'm deploying to Kuwait in advance of the Iraq War. In April, one of the first units across the border to Iraq. In April, we invade Baghdad on April 7, 2003, and turns into like one of the craziest battles of the war. They've like guy who was the editor for Black Hawk Down came and like did whole interviews with us and like wrote a whole book about it. Like end up in this serious fight for our fucking life under a freeway overpass in Baghdad, and end up getting a Bronze Star that day. So the universe put me where it needed me, but would have much rather been doing it as a full-on Army Ranger that had earned his tambourine scroll. But oh well. Yeah. Life goes on. Ended up coming home from Iraq and getting stationed at Ranger School and working there for a little bit. And so interestingly enough, I have a tambourine, but didn't really earn it the right way. But when my kid gets his, already next week when I go see him, he'll be getting my, like in the infantry, you wear a blue cord.
Yeah.
So he'll be getting mine that I pinned on 21 years ago. I'll be pinning that on him. And
so your actual one, you're going to pass it down?
Yeah.
Nice.
Take it down and pin it on him. When I came home from Iraq and was awarded the Combat Infantryman's Badge, which is, if you're in the infantry in the Army, it's the only badge you fucking care about is your Combat Infantryman's Badge, because that means you got in the game. Right? Yeah. Like, you didn't ride the pine. Because that's how you look at it, being in the infantry, right? Like your job is to kick in doors and shoot people. So you don't do that when you're 18 because you want to be in a peacetime army. As fucked up as it kind of sounds as a 40-year-old now, like, yeah, go war. Especially on this side of it as dad, right? Like I look at where he's at and I go,
and probably remembering shit that you went through and experiences that you had, and I'm sure some of them are probably fucking scary to think about your kid having to get into.
Yeah, like it absolutely will fuck my world up if he goes to combat and is KIA. Like, as hard of a motherfucker as I think I am, like, that'll put me on my ass. And to have to consider that. Right. Like I said, I like to write, so I'm like writing him a bunch of stuff and sending him stuff. And I talked to him about that in one of these letters. I haven't actually even given it to him yet, but like, I get it. Like, it's your youth, and as much as it makes me uncomfortable as your old man, like, don't stop chasing your fucking dreams. Like, take the risks. Like, roll the dice and bet on your fucking self. And this kid's been climbing mountains with me and jumping in freezing lakes and doing all the hard shit his whole life. That's why I think he's like the most mentally prepared 18-year-old for special operations that I've ever seen. He left here in July at, like, he's 6'3" at like 195 pounds at like 9% body fat. You know, like just been lifting in the gym and playing soccer for 4 years.
So he's
like,
fucking rocking it.
He's a fucking beast, man. His last day here, we went to the gym, and then he was like pissed off because his 6'3" ass couldn't put up a 300-pound squat, and like that's what he wanted to do before he left. He wanted to hit that 3-century squat. So when I see him, and I saw him back in October and end of September, October, he was like down to like 175. Like he was just burning through calories every day in basic training.
Yeah.
Scrawny as fuck. So yeah, he'll get my blue cord pinned on. So when I came back and I got my combat insurance badge after going through combat in Iraq, my dad was there to give me my grandpa's combat infantryman badge from World War II. So I still have that.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and so if the kid ever when he gets his tambourine, he'll get my tambourine. When he gets fucked up, as to say, like, I hope he gets a chance to get his CIB, just because I understand the importance of that.
Right.
As fucked up as it is, as his parent,
right,
to have to think about him going into combat, like, that's what he signed up for.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't want my kid to be an NFL football player that doesn't get in the game because I'm worried about them getting a concussion.
Right.
Like, this is your dream, and I'm going to support it. And, like, then, I get it. So.
How's your wife feel about all that?
I don't know. I haven't really talked to her about it. She was in the Army, too, so.
Oh, okay.
She gets it, but.
Yeah.
It probably fucks her up a little bit more than it does me. But it fucks me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just hearing you talk about all of that stuff, man, that's pretty fucking awesome that he has that. Because, I mean, a lot of kids these days don't. They don't have, the old man that, does workouts with him and all that, and helps him train, and, has that experience to pass down. Or even just the old man that actually talks to them about, like real shit.
Gosh, I always try to be that with my kids. It's funny because none of the rest of them get it. He gets it. He wrote them a letter that I read like a month into basic training, and he was like telling them, guys, you guys should be way more appreciative of mom and dad and listen to them way more often. He's like, Dad actually knows what he's talking about. I'm like, yeah. It's funny how all of a sudden being out in the real world and having drill sergeants yelling at you about everything you do regardless makes you realize, like, oh, maybe I should like have listened and learned some lessons that my dad tried to teach me from his experience in this.
Right.
But
here I am just sitting hoping that as soon as my kid moves into her own place and starts paying bills, she'll figure out how expensive it is.
Oh, that's how I feel about, I've got the two 19-year-old twins that live in my basement, and like, I love them to death, and I want to support them in their dreams. And if they have a plan and they're pursuing that, then they can live in my basement as long as they're working on that plan.
Right. As long as they're not just playing video games all day, every day, and doing nothing.
But if you're going to live in my basement and you don't have a plan and you don't have something you're pursuing, then you're going to pay me rent that is going to be market rate.
Nice.
Like, cool, you're working at a minimum wage job somewhere and you're not going to school and you don't have a career path or anything you're working towards, because I'm talking to you about that. I'm asking you.
Yeah.
I'm sitting down and taking you to coffee once a month and chatting with you about your plans, and then going, okay, well, set an appointment with me to sit down and go over a budget, and I will teach you how to budget. Okay. Well, Tuesday at 12 work? Yeah. I'll be in my office. Come upstairs. Tuesday at 5:30 rolls around. Hey, what happened? Oh, I fell asleep. Okay, well, when you're broke at the end of the month, remember this moment.
Yeah.
And when your rent goes up next month, remember this moment. Like, I'm not going to do the work for you. If you want to let life teach you the lessons the hard way, then I'm going to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Because that's how I had to learn. I came home from Iraq in 2003, so invaded Baghdad in April, hung around there. My twins were born while I was sitting on a rooftop pulling guard duty at midnight in Baghdad. Like, I found out, like, my platoon sergeant came up to tell me. And strangely enough, I had gotten the news that my grandma had died, like, 2 days before that. And then had to go to Fallujah for a couple months to try to fucking make those crazy people not so crazy. And then went home in August to my like 3-month-old twins. So like instant family out of nowhere.
Show up and there's 2 babies.
Yeah, and because when I left, she wasn't she was pregnant, obviously, but like we didn't know she was even pregnant. We didn't find out until after I left, and so like I missed the whole pregnancy, and then just show up and there's like instant family that I have to take care of, and then like immediately, yeah, and I'm 20 years old, and then immediately get her pregnant with the 18-year-old boy. So he's born. The 19-year-old twins and the 18-year-old boy are less than a year apart. They're 11 months apart. So they're like Irish twins, triplets, whatever. Yeah, like life had to teach me a whole bunch of fucking lessons. Like a 20-year-old doesn't know how to have a family properly. Like 20-year-old has no fucking clue what he's doing, trying to navigate like a career and like pay for a family and health insurance and have all these freaking kids that he's responsible for. And then my wife had to deploy for a year in there in 2005. So then I'm Mr. Mom for a year by myself with a shit ton of children running around still in diapers and like...
Fuck that.
Yeah. But now I
was never a baby guy. Yeah. That's why I never had any.
Now I'm 40 and my youngest is 16 and she's mostly autonomous and
yeah.
I had a lot of fucking free time. I still have the energy to enjoy it. So, and, you know, I saw what all my buddies were doing and the age of 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, right? Like they were getting drunk and spending money on stupid shit and they weren't traveling. They weren't seeing anything. They weren't going anywhere. So now I'm 40. I pretty much have all adult children and I now have a career and I don't need to go spend money on stupid shit like drinking and I don't know, whatever. So I can go travel and do things and have interesting experiences. And I still have the energy to make it fun. Whereas, God forbid that I only tried starting to have children like right now.
Yeah.
Like how the fuck
which people still do.
How the fuck are 40-year-olds having babies? I
have no fucking idea.
I need a nap.
Yeah. We talked
every day.
Yeah, we talked about, oh man, what was this? It was probably 2019, right beginning of then. And I don't remember how the hell it came up, but we actually talked about having another one. And we came to the conclusion together, like, fuck no, what the hell are we talking about? Why the hell would we do that? Because we already have, you know, the one that's almost grown and out of the house. We had like 4 or 5 years left to go.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah, you know, gosh, I know a few people that are getting to that age of 35 plus that are either actively trying or contemplating.
Yeah.
Even being over 40, contemplating having a baby. And I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I
wouldn't want one right now.
They're
beautiful.
Yeah.
But
I have friends that are in their 20s and, you know, I give them shit, you know, because they always have cool stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, it must be great to have all this disposable income. And then they come right back at, well, don't fucking get mad at me because you decided to get married and have a family. And it's like, touche.
Yeah, but I totally realize now with my own life trajectory that it sucks having young children anyways, like on your finances and your social life.
Yeah,
like
kids are expensive pets.
Yeah, not the actual act of like having them. I mean, that does suck sometimes, but like it's hard and it sucks being a parent. So the added stress that I had of being young and inexperienced and poor.
Yeah.
Like, meh. You know what I mean? Like, comparatively, it didn't really add that much stress. Like, I would have still been young and inexperienced and poor in life anyways. Like,
yeah.
Now I just had children that I had to be responsible for. And so I got all of the shittiness of life out of the way, like, really, really quickly. And then got experience and got, like, into a career and, like, started to figure all that shit out. And then now, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I've already dealt with all that. Now I can enjoy life, and I'm only 40. Like, 40 used to feel like it was going to be old.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, no. Like, I don't even feel like I'm going to be old at 60, because
Yeah, I mean, if you take care of yourself and all that, sure.
Trying to keep doing stupid things like running Ironmans and almost dying on Mount Rainier with Brandon. So and that's a whole nother story.
I wouldn't necessarily call that stupid.
Oh no, this was stupid.
Is this one of that's a horrible idea. When are we doing it? Kind of deals.
I mean, yeah. So we wanted to climb Rainier.
Are you running marathons without training? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I did not train adequately for my Ironman at all. So the very first half marathon I've ever run in my life was my half Ironman in October. The very first time I ever did a 55-mile bike ride was during the half Ironman in November or October. So I don't think I'm as crazy as David Goggins, but I constantly am putting myself in situations. I'm like, fuck. Why have I not yet learned the lesson that you cannot just gut your way through everything in life?
Beyond out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, this would still suck even if you had put in the training. You didn't have to make it suck worse and feel like you're going to die for the last 7 miles of the Ironman. Or when we went to Mount Rainier and almost died in August of watching the weather all week, ping pong, wind speed anywhere from 30 miles per hour, which is cool. That's fine. I can manage that, to 75 mile per hour, which is kill you.
Yeah.
Wind, blow you off the mountain on a 400-foot drop cliff. And so Brandon and I were like, well, fuck it. Let's go. It's going to be cold.
This isn't going to turn out bad at all.
It's going to be negative wind. It's going to be negative degree wind chill Fahrenheit. But it'll be clear. It'll be sunny. There's not going to be precipitation. We're not going to have snow and rain to deal with. And we can probably deal with the wind. And maybe we'll get lucky and it won't be that windy because the direction of it, the mountain should shield us, blah, blah, blah. All these things we told ourselves. Climb up to Camp Muir at 10,000 feet. Set up camp. Talk to the climbing ranger. And he's like, oh, you guys know what the weather is? I'm like, yeah, I've been checking the weather all week long. I'm aware. And Brandon was like, you been checking the weather? That's such a good idea, bro. And I was like, yeah, that's what we need to do when we go climbing, Brandon. Brandon's very much just like, fuck it, let's go. Which I love so much, but also sometimes I'm just like, bro, come on, man. And, the climbing ranger's like, listen, here's what I tell you. When you wake up in the morning, just unzip your tent, look out. If the sky looks clear and it seems calm, go for it. Give it a shot, but don't be afraid to turn around. We're like, yeah, that's our plan. That's what we're going to do anyways. Because this was Brandon's first mountaineering experience. But I trust him because I trust him with my life. And then he knows knots and rigging and ropes. So if I fell in a crevasse, he would be able to get me out. He would be able to rig a haul system, get me out. So I trust him generally, even though it's a technical climb. And, but we're going up one of the basic technical routes. So there's not technical rock climbing or anything. It's just some technical mountaineering and glacier crossings and stuff like that, where it's mostly just walking up a really steep hill, which really sucks in the snow.
Yeah.
So we get up 12:30. I wake up. I look outside because you got to start when you're climbing mountaineering. You start early in the morning. So that's when the snow's the most firm and best for travel, and you have the least chance of avalanche and ice fall. And it's clear, beautiful, not even windy. Where we're at. Because it started out windy when we went to bed at 6 p.m. So I wake B up. We're like, all right, we're going. We're going to do this. So we get ready. We eat a little bit of breakfast. We get roped up because you tie into each other. And we start the climb. Cross the first glacier. Head up some rocks. Get to the base of the next glacier. Start crossing that. And it's starting to get windy and just blow in little shards of ice and all this crap in our face. It's getting cold. It sucks. We get across this glacier. You've got to literally cross a ladder bridge where they've put a ladder across and hold onto a rope and hope you don't fall in the 100-foot deep ice cave. And we cross that. and then start going up something called the Disappointment Cleaver, which is like just open rock face on Mount Rainier on the southeastern side. And, you know, on one side of you is Ingram Glacier, which is the site of like the worst mountaineering accident in North American history. On the other side is this like 500, 600 foot drop off to the Emmons Glacier.
The worst mountaineering accident?
Yeah, back in the 80s, something like 20, double digits. I don't know if it was up to 20. It was either like 11 or 12 or 21 or 22 people. A section of the Ingram Glacier where it comes down a very steep portion of the mountain, it turns into an ice fall.
Okay.
Right, because essentially it's flowing ice. It's ice that flows down the mountain. So in places where you would normally get a waterfall.
Yeah, a waterfall made of ice.
Yeah, it's an
Just
ice
moves
fall.
real slow.
It just moves real slow, yeah. So it's all these broken pieces. And like when one of them breaks off and falls, it basically creates an avalanche, but also with even more dangerous large chunks of ice. So there was like a few teams on the glacier that morning when it broke off and swept like all of them into the glacier. They never even found the people's bodies. And so it was the worst North American mountaineering accident. So you're climbing like up that, and so it just sucks this morning, like that we're doing it. It's wind in your face because it's coming from the northwest, but it doesn't matter because like up on the mountain, it just wraps around and over the mountain. Like you don't get any shielding from it.
Yeah.
Because there's no other mountains around it. And just gusting and gusting and gusting, blowing dust and dirt and like ice and all this crap. And we start to see like guide teams coming down around behind us, or like passing us on the way back, like because they start way ahead of us because they move way slower. And like eventually the last one comes down and the guide stops and he goes, "Hey, you know, we're the last guided team on the mountain, so there's not going to be any mountain guides up here. There's one team ahead of you, I think. But if you guys get in any trouble up here, there's not going to be any helicopters or rangers or guides coming to help you out.
You're screwed.
You're on your own."
Yeah.
And he's like, "So I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I would turn around." We're like, "All right, cool, thanks." We keep going. And basically at the top of the Disappointment Cleaver, it turns back into a glacier. Like it was just unbearable. Like the amount of wind and the cold, and you know, we still would have had 2 more hours of climbing, if not 2.5 to 3, just to get to the summit, and then it would have been even worse on the summit where it's completely exposed. So we made the decision to turn around and start heading back down. And by this time it's, you know, 5 a.m. or whatever. And now it's like pre-dawn, so we can start seeing, and we see all these spots where like climbing up, you know, the wind had been like knocking us around like with these wind gusts, and you know, where we're like catching ourselves on a rock and then coming down in the light, you're like, holy fuck, there's like 1,000-foot drop, like 1 foot to where I sat my hand like to brace myself.
So just a few more inches.
Yeah, and like I would have been over the edge of that cliff. And you're tied together, so you're both fucked.
Yeah, one goes, right, the other one's going with.
The reason you're tied together is for, like, if you fall into a glacier, like a crevasse on a glacier, the other person can then just hit the ground and dig their ice axe in and, like, catch your fall.
Yeah.
If you go over a cliff edge, like a straight-up cliff edge, there's
nothing to brace to.
Yeah, there's nothing for them to brace onto, and then there's, like, when you fall into a crevasse, you've got the snow around you, and the rope drags on the snow, and, like, there's different things that slow your fall, so the person has time to react, but there's nothing like, it's a mutual suicide pact, basically, when you tie up in situations like that. Yeah, so we realized that, like, we hungered down in not even, like, just on a cliff, like, sitting there waiting. We're like, well, let's, like, hang out and wait for sunrise, because, you know, the sun coming up makes you feel way better.
Yeah.
Just something about it. And we both love sunrises.
You got to get that vitamin D.
Yeah, and
bring the mood up.
So we were like freezing our ass off for 30, 45 minutes waiting for sunrise on this cliff, like huddled together in every piece of clothing we have, you know, our puffies, our thickest gloves and beanies. And I had to like get out my sleeping bag because once again, I was like, all right, Brandon, we need to take our 4 pieces of safety climbing gear. We need a sleeping bag, a shovel, a sleeping pad, and something to boil water with in case, we get into an emergency and we have to dig a snow cave and seek shelter and all this stuff. So like I have to like break out the sleeping bag for us to like cuddle underneath to stay warm while we wait for the sunrise. But like most beautiful fucking sunrise like I've ever seen. I've this amazing picture of it that is insane. To realize that it's captured with a camera on a clip, like a phone camera with no fucking filter at all. Like it was just this awesome sunrise. And then we're coming back down, and as we're coming down, now we realize all these areas where we've been like, beneath the rocks and the cliffs the whole night in the dark, the whole morning in the dark, we didn't see all of the numerous boulders blowing and rolling just right across the path that we had been walking, right? Like we didn't see how deep the crevasse was we were crossing. We didn't see like all of these things that now in the light we're like, shit, like that boulder's flying down the hill 10 feet in front of me at like 60 miles per hour, Not even boulder, like soccer-sized rock, but like that will kill you if it hits you. And
it's going to leave a bruise for sure.
Yeah, and I'm talking to Brandon about the wind gusts because he works with electric line poles, and he's used to like the high winds and stuff. He's like, yeah, no, these are easy 75 mile per hour wind gusts. He's like, these are nuts. So yeah, we almost like died that day through our own stupidity, but it was awesome. We didn't get the summit, but like, so it's a failure, right? Like you failed to get the summit, but
yeah. But I mean, there's still so many people that can't even say that they went as far as you did.
Well, yeah, but that's, back on that like failure topic, right? Like it's a failure in that we didn't get the summit, but like we weren't there for the summit, we were there for the mountain.
Yeah.
Like the summit will always be there.
Right, it's not going anywhere.
We were there to climb the mountain, and we climbed the mountain that day. We just didn't get to the summit, but we weren't there for that's the end goal, but the enjoyment is in the work, in the process.
Yep.
Of climbing on the mountain. It's this sort of, I don't know, concept that's just repeating in my life right now.
Yeah, I'm such a pussy though. Like I've gone hiking on Fernan at the end of spring when there's still a little bit of snow up there, and I thought that was hard.
I fucking hate the snow. Like, oh man, I'm a fair weather climber. Oh man, there's people that get out in the backcountry like to climb where they're stomping through like waist high snow to like get these peaks. I'm like,
that's a bit much.
Yeah, like I hate it if I have to step through like ankle high snow. I'm like, this is bullshit. Like
my pant legs are getting wet. God damn it.
Yeah, I'm like, so I'm very much a fair weather climber. Like if it's nice, firm glacier snow, like cool, I'm in. Like I know at some point in my life, if I'm gonna climb 7 summits like I want to, like I'm gonna have to stop being pussy about that. But until I need to, why bother?
Like 7 different summits?
The highest mountain on each continent.
Oh, okay.
So Denali up in Alaska for North America, Aconcagua in Argentina. I don't remember the native name for it is, but Cartens Pyramid in Fiji for Oceania. Kilimanjaro, Africa. Elbrus for Europe, which is in like the Caucasus Mountains of southwest Russia. So it's on the European continental plate, but like a lot of people don't consider it Europe, so some people then climb Mount Blanc in the Alps. A lot of people consider that the European highest point because that's more traditional Europe, and then of course Everest we didn't cover, Everest in Asia. And then my personal favorite that I'm like most excited to do, just because like who the fuck, Vincent Massif in Antarctica.
Jeez.
Who goes to Antarctica?
Nobody. Yeah, unless they're.
If I don't get all 7, but I can get that one, I would be happy.
I do like watching those documentary shows about the people that go to Antarctica, but mostly because I want to see their rigs, dude. Like they have the most badass trucks and shit. They're riding around on like 2 PSI tires that are, just ginormous.
Yeah. So that's like South Pole shit. And like, I don't think Vincent Massif is like kind of towards the edges, but still like it's remote. So you have to like snowshoe or cross-country ski in with your sled of equipment, and or get like ski planed in, and it's nuts. But
yeah, there was something I was reading about a team that went into the South Pole recently, and they had these I think they were Ford Raptors that had been modified to just these crazy extremes with the, you know, giant tires, and they had the automatic tire inflating systems and all that stuff. They're fucking badass. And one of them fell through the ice, and it wasn't all that deep. You could still see it underwater, but they didn't want to leave it there because of it would like damage the ecosystem and shit. So they had to figure out over the last few months how they were going to be able to go in and dig it out and get it back up on land. Or on ice, I should say. That was pretty interesting watching them try to figure it out.
gonna take a selfie.
Let me take a selfie.
For the gram.
For the gram? The Instagram?
Yeah, for the gram. Do it for the gram.
Oh yeah, you were texting me. Yeah, like social media, I don't know. It still just boggles me how the shit works. And I mean, I'm a fucking nerd, and maybe it's because I don't really care that much. That's probably it.
Yeah, well, so I used to care about it in the sense of like likes and shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't really care about it in that sense anymore. I care about it in the sense of documenting life. And then it gives me an artistic outlet too, where like that thing I wrote about failure, like I have a bunch of other stuff like that where I'm like writing about that, and then also trying to pair it like with a visual representation that I enjoy, whether it's a picture I take or like something I create. So it gives me like this creative outlet.
Just being able to share it with the world.
Yeah, and like just put it out into the world, and like if people dig it, like awesome, cool. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
I do like that aspect of it. That's
like,
pretty cool.
I thought it was cool earlier. Joe DeCina, the Spartan race founder, liked one of my things. Like I was like, why is fucking Joe DeCina reading this? Like, so Joe DeCina is a. Do you know what the Spartan races are?
I want to say I've heard of it, but no.
Obstacle course racing, where they have to,
Okay.
you run these different. There's like 5K, 10K, and half marathon, and then like marathon length courses that are full of obstacles, like monkey bars or barbed wire crawls or cold water dunks or wall climbs and shit like that. So like he runs the Spartan race, which is like one of the biggest ones in the world. Alex and I got into doing those like years back, like 2016 or something like that. We did one of each of the different distances, and Brandon and his girlfriend in September went and did all three of the distances in 1 week, which adds up to about a marathon worth of running over one weekend. And so I was just starting to get in shape in 2016 when I did them. I think I'd been going to the gym for like less than a year. And like it was pretty rough. But just another one of those stupid challenge things that I've come to enjoy. So I don't know. Like I thought it was cool, and I was like, oh, why is this guy like reading my stories or whatever? Reading my thoughts on life. But whatever, hey, cool. Like just put it out there. You never know who is gonna read it or get touched by it. If nobody does, like ultimately I don't even care. Like
Yeah.
I like the process of writing. So it gives me a structure, right? Because I can only use a certain number of characters. And it gives me like a structure in the form of I have to pair it with a picture. And it gives me structure in the form of like I have to plan this out and then like create. Like it forces me to create if I'm going to like do it actively. And so the great thing with Instagram now is you can set up like a professional account. And then Facebook has all these tools where you can automatically schedule things. So I don't actually have to be on Instagram to use Instagram.
Oh yeah, because they're both owned by Meta, right?
Yeah. And like that's one of my biggest drawbacks with social media is like I'm trying to start using it now more responsibly in the sense of like actually using it as a social tool to network with people and like local people especially. And like just I really enjoy that. But like in the past, I'd use it. It would be a time waster to just like the endless scroll and like bullshit. Like I know TikTok's huge. I don't want to be on TikTok at all because
Yeah, no.
it is such a time waster.
I wish my kid wasn't on it.
Yeah. Like sure, you can learn things from it, but you're not going there to learn things from it. If you wanted to learn those things, you should just go learn those things. Or you should go pick a thing that you want to learn and then do the research on how to do that rather than just scrolling and letting the algorithm decide what you should learn. Like that's not intentional about your life.
Yeah, when I go to YouTube, usually it's because I want to learn something.
Yeah.
And I do it with purpose.
Yeah, not just to like randomly watch stuff. And so that's like, I enjoy that with Instagram, is I can like post to it and participate in it without having it turn into a time waster.
Yeah.
So I can use it as like this creative outlet without turning it into a time waster. And then I can like plan ahead too, and then set it on automate. So I don't even have to like actively manage it. Like your average normal soccer mom who's posting on Instagram is, you know, a couple times a month going, oh shit, I haven't posted anything on Instagram in a while, and like opening it up and then like finding something to post. And that's the only way they ever post is when they go, oh shit, like I have to go post or like whatever. But when you sit down and you just plan it out, and from a business standpoint, it's a strategy, right? Like for a podcast,
right?
You know, you can literally have a social media strategy, and like
and that's what I got to figure out.
Yeah, and just plan these posts ahead of time. So you go, okay, I'm going to post on social media once a week, like something interesting or a clip from one of my episodes, and then I'm going to post, you know, my episodes once a week or whatever, you know, you're doing. Like it doesn't need to be like everyday engagement type stuff, but you know, if you have a plan and then you can plan it, and like you go, okay, well, so if I'm going to do one clip a week that I think people will find interesting, then what I will do is I only need to find 4 of those clips a month. And then you sit down at the start of each month and you find those 4 clips, you put them together, throw the video together, whatever you do with it, and then you dump it all into the planner and hit schedule.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I just realized, what was it, last week or the week before, that like the Meta suite.
Yeah, the business suite.
Yeah, the business suite on there lets you basically just pick shit or like a day out of the calendar and just tell it to automatically upload.
And then you can, as you, like for you too, right? Like as you build this content library of clips and stuff, you can start to set them to be reoccurringly post. So like every 4 months, repost this clip. So then you start to get like this almost automatic social media thing, right? Like, because for a podcast, really what your social media, like think about the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, social media. He's not like going there and posting. He's not like sharing memes from that. He's not sharing personal pictures. It's all clips from the podcast show.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what those clips then get shared because they're viral, because somebody said something cool or it was some funny moment or whatever.
Even on his Twitter, he's usually just retweeting shit from his comedy buddies and interesting stuff that he finds.
Yeah. So the way you use social media as like a business or in a professional way versus the way you use it in a personal way are like 2 completely different things. And so I try to do like a hybrid of both, where like on a posting basis, I use it like a business. I schedule everything. I write it all beforehand. I'm not trying to think of things, and I plan it out for like a month at a time. And then in a personal way, you know, like on Instagram stories, those are like I'm going to post that picture to the stories because it's happening right now. And where that it's more of a like spontaneous, contemporaneous account of what's going on. And then that's how I interact with people, right? Like, and that's how I'm starting to like network more with people is via like the stories on Instagram, because that's where I can have discussions with individuals. You know, I will scroll through the feed, but I try to follow shit that's like relevant to life, like that's motivational something or educational, teaching me camera tricks, which sounds very much like TikTok taught me, and it is in a way. But, you know, I'm not like trying to scroll all day long because there's only so many motivational quotes you can scroll through before you're like, all right, this is boring. Like,
yeah.
And go find something else to do.
You're not trapping yourself in the algorithm.
Yeah. So.
All right, man, we're about out of time.
Yeah. I gotta go to the bathroom anyways.
I know, right? I gotta piss like a racehorse. That was a lot of fun though, dude. I'm glad you came on.
Yeah, it was a fun conversation.
Yeah.
I like to talk, so.
Well, good. That works out.
Well, thanks for coming on, and we will talk to you another time for sure.
All right. Bye, everybody.